Whew. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is having a great Friday. This is what you all chose from the survey poll, whatever you want to call it, on my community tab. So when I look at the poll that I put up there on the community tab, let me get to it. Hold on. One moment, please. Please hold. Okay, so I posted yesterday. Hey everyone, thanks so much for your support. Please vote on a topic below or add your topic in the comments. Thank you. So I know that Valdez is live right now and a lot of things going on, but I just wanted to put this out. I'm not going to be here long. I shouldn't even say that. I don't know why I always say that, but anyway, I'll be here as long as necessary to get my point across. So from the results, as you can see on my community tab, you go, check it out. 47% of people voted for Mental Health Day, October 10th, 2020. I understand that the thumbnail says October 10th, but that's just tomorrow. So if you don't want to watch it today, then if you're that type of person, then just watch it tomorrow. That's fine with me. I appreciate everybody who put comments in there. I put a couple comments, I think, and then people who voted. So 47% said Mental Health Day, 10-10-20. 29% voted for Trump's COVID infection, which I thought was kind of funny. 0% voted for the VP debate. I guess y'all tired of that. 18% voted for Jaguar Wright. And 5% voted for the Breast Cancer Awareness Month topic. So as we know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I have worked with patients who have breast cancer and who have recovered, who have gone into remission, and who have, I shouldn't say recovered, but who are in remission, and patients who, where their cancer at least is now undetected by, modern technology. And I have worked with breast cancer cells, breast cancer tissue. So I also lost an aunt to breast cancer years ago, maybe about 12 years ago. So it is near and dear to my heart. So I will probably do videos or streams on the other topics, even though they either were voted on or not voted on. So it's not a problem. Let me make sure that before I go further. Okay, they actually have, let's see, we got Shango Zulu. How are you doing? I'm gonna go back to the community tab real quick. Oh yes, I wanted to mention something. So everything that I posted on the thumbnail, on the community tab, the different topics, the 5 different topics, most of them deal with mental health and mental illness, if you think about it. So, let's just break this down. Think about this. Okay, Trump's COVID infection. There's some lack of personal responsibility, perhaps some mental illness going on there. I don't know. Y'all have to tell me. VP debate. I wouldn't say mental illness, but I'm sure a lot of people are pulling their hair out and trying to deal with that mess. I shouldn't say a mess, but it was a little messy. It was getting a little messy in the VP debate, I will say. Not as messy as the presidential debate, but moving forward. Mental Health Day, self-explanatory. Jaguar Wright, a lot of things she said that she is saying now on different streams. Shout out to Storm Monroe. You can tell she has dealt with and probably is still healing from a lot of stress from mental anguish, abuse, a cult of personality that she's had to endure, who knows. But there's mental health awareness that's clear when she's giving her opinions and just, I think, reflection and recall on what she has experienced in the music industry, entertainment industry, and so forth. And finally, with Breast Cancer Awareness Month, there is some mental health that's involved in that with patients, especially patients that have just been diagnosed. That is a traumatic experience for patients. I know someone personally, quite a few women personally who just want to live their life, and they get this diagnosis and they find out genetically that there's really nothing that they could have done differently. They go down the laundry list of things they could have done. Could I have worked out more? Could I have changed my diet? Could I have, learned how to reduce stress? But then, the doctors not really the doctors kind of really can't say much to them. But the researchers like myself come to them and we're telling them, hey, this is what you have genetically. This is where you stand. This is what we can do. These therapies work in vitro, in vivo. Maybe they will work for you. We have good success. So if you want to try, we can see what happens. We have them on a trial. We make sure that everything is up to par. Everything is regulated properly, and get them some help as well. Nutritionally, get them help, and also get them help. Sometimes even financially, patients need help because a lot of our people who get diagnosed with breast cancer, a lot of women, of course, they get diagnosed with breast cancer. It's not just the woman that's getting diagnosed. It's like her family's getting diagnosed with breast cancer. You understand? Because it's a disease like any other disease like that. It's traumatic. And so then therapy is an option for them. Counseling, women lose their marriages. They sometimes go in a topsy-turvy type of situation where they make really dangerous decisions, not thinking clearly. So they need help. So we get them the help that they need free of charge, in many cases. And so I wanted to just say, I thought it was funny because a lot of the topics I put up indirectly or directly deal with mental health, But I thank y'all for being here. What's going on? Chaos Rain, Tone Malone, what's going on? Dallas Cowboys, how are y'all doing? Y'all hit that like button. Thank you so much for being here. I forgot to put my little banner up there. Oh, there you go. Get that banner up there. Get the banner. Got the banner going. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. I was just listening to discussions with Dina. She was talking about cuties and how Netflix, was indicted by a Texas grand jury for the sexual exploitation that was portrayed in the movie Cuties. Now, I have not seen Cuties. I wasn't planning to see it. I've heard a lot of commentary on it, and I've heard a lot of, I've heard bad reviews about it, which would be obvious. I've even heard mixed reviews about the movie. One in particular was the review that I just heard, not review, but just kind of going into detail about this pedophilic type of agenda that's being portrayed in the media as we see, or this agenda that's about, it's okay to sexualize children. It's okay to then move into, I guess, whetting the appetite of a person who has pedophilic tendencies, which is a sickness, in my opinion. There's a mental illness issue there. Something's wrong. Something was not resolved in your past for you to think it's okay to, do some things with kids or even think about children in that way. So I'm also going to post the video from the Crimson Cure because shout out to her. Her title this was her video about cuties. She streamed it a couple of weeks ago, and the title was Cuties Isn't Cute at All. And we'll put hers in there, Crimson Cure. There we go. And so, yeah, my whole thing is like, of course, we understand we're in the middle of a pandemic, we're epidemic, really, based on number of deaths and based on the burden, current burden and future burden on the hospital system. So, mental health, of course, with cuties, with all these other things going on in the media, with our health, with politics, education, the social issues that are going on with all the protests, the educational problems, and the issues that just keep coming up. And so what I have was a acronym to describe, because I was like, I need an acronym. I'm an acronym type of person. Some people might not be, but that's how I am. What's going on, Shalonda? Back to the basics. How you doing, honey? She up in the chat, y'all. Up in the chat. I thank y'all so much for coming. But there's an acronym. It's I was using a buffer at work the other day, and I was like, well, about a week ago, and I was like, you know what? This means something. Like this, I know it means something. I kept writing it down, and I just started writing out, and it was the buffer is HEPS buffer, HEPES, the HEPS buffer. And HEPS stands for something else for us as far as a buffer that we use for making solutions and diluting different reagents or whatnot. And Dr. Dunbar knows what HEPS is, but if you ever work in science or somebody works in science, ask them about the HEPS buffer. It's a salt type of buffer that we use. And for me, looking at everything that's going on, HEPS is an acronym for health, economics, politics, education, and social, or social events or societal events, right? So that's how I break down everything that's going on. And the HEPS acronym, with health, economics, politics, education, and social, social unrest, social injustice, social issues, all that kind of stuff, that all really takes a toll on you mentally. I know me personally, I've had to take mental health days. Like we have mental health days that we can take. And at this time, it's not even called mental health day. I just still call it that because at this time we have to swipe our badge before we go into work. You got to swipe your badge. You have to have your mask on. They encourage you to wear gloves. They encourage you to wear goggles. We haven't gotten to the booties and bunny suits yet, but probably will soon. So I go in there, and if I don't go to work physically, I can log in and swipe my badge electronically, work from home. Oh, thank you, Tom Malone. Thank you for that 5 spot. Thank you for that super chat. I'll put the link in the chat as well if anybody wants to come up here. I'm tired of me talking. We don't want to hear what you got to say. I want to talk, Nicole. No, you talk too much. Okay, fine. Dang. I'm just playing. If anybody want to come up here, it's cool. Thank you, Tom. I know you're probably busy doing your thing on the grind as always. Much appreciated to you. Yeah, but I have noticed, that it has taken a toll, on me, people that work in the healthcare industry. The healthcare industry is not just doctors, nurses, and technicians. It's a huge industry that involves a lot of people working in concert together and to make things happen on different aspects, of health and wellness for the patients, for the community at large, and even for other communities outside of the region, outside of the state, And so I find myself struggling sometimes, when I get home and, just to calm down, but I have ways that I, calm down. Reading helps, exercising really helps, eating right helps. Thank you, Shango Zulu. Thank you for that $10. I appreciate that. I needed that back to the basics. Virtual hug. I really needed that. I appreciate it. What's going on, Torian? How you doing? So I'll get you in a minute, Chaos. But I just want to say that, whatever you do, do it wholeheartedly to relieve stress because your mental health is important. People say that, oh, you just got to keep going, just brush it off. Well, some people can't brush it off. Some people don't have the skills to just brush it off and get over it. If they did, they wouldn't be having, World Mental Health Day tomorrow and Mental Health Day, which I think is in April, if I'm not mistaken. They would have nothing like that. They would not be a concern. You wouldn't have counselors and therapists and psychiatrists, psychologists, and all these other people, because it would be like, okay, we're not robots. We're human beings. We have feelings, and we have, things we worry about and concerns. And so, I just wanted to have the stream, just, if people want to talk about whatever they're dealing with, doesn't have to necessarily be under what we're dealing with as far as the pandemic itself specifically. But that's why I brought the acronym HELPS, health, education, economics, politics, social stuff. So let me bring up Chaos. He came up here.
Yeah.
What's going on, Chaos?
What's good?
Are you driving?
And yeah, a little bit. I'll try to keep it brief. I know the motor sounds unusual, but everybody should try to, as best as possible, get a clean bill of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know that it's going to be a growing process now in this decade we're in, because now we have to readdress the mental illness of ourselves, and as collective people. One of the few things that we suffer move forward is the mental health aspects of our lives. We pass down a lot of trauma, whether physically or non-physical, and even go as far as epigenetically as well. So we have to make the conscious effort to resolve these problems. So for our future children, passing down anything, it could be easily alleviated. In other words,
Yeah.
So that's one thing I would say on that end. Now, in regards to cuties, because it's good that you mentioned this Netflix movie again. I only heard one and maybe the second content creator, Kendra D, if she did talk about it, very good. I don't see a lot of black women in YouTube talking about this movie. And I'm going to tell you why. Because a black woman helped write and produce it. That's why they're not talking about it. And this is one thing you will never find me talk about at all. And if people think I'm wrong, please reveal these content creators that are talking about it and expressing their disdain, hate, and disgust of this series or this movie, please. But other than that, I don't want to hear shit from no content creator, because the only people that talk besides two black women was the men in the space.
Mm-hmm.
So it tells you when they talk about black men don't really care about the black girls. Yes, we do care, because we don't want our own daughters to be sexually exploited in the times we're in now. Hell, a lot of black men, if you hear them personally, Nicole, have black daughters.
Wow.
What must that thinking to know that this filth by this so-called African foreign national put out to say that I'm here trying to raise awareness? There are ways to bring a point. It could be a documentary, but not a whole movie. Where it's showing very much sexually gestures to other pedophilic men of the world. They did not get that message when they watched Cuties. They were looking at how they get their rocks off, seeing young black women engage in gyrating and sexual loose aspects.
Okay.
I hope that's clear.
I think it could also be that, well, for myself, I can speak for myself. I mean, I have a feeling why a lot of women didn't talk about it. Myself, I haven't seen it, and I didn't feel it was appropriate to talk about something I haven't seen. Like, I have reviewed Lovecraft Country episodes 1 through 4, and it was kind of like it was a mess, because I felt like it was just it was all over the place. and I haven't gotten to episode 5, but I know that Dr. Tia Son Johnson reviewed that in Antebellum. I can't review Antebellum. I haven't seen that yet. And so I haven't seen it. However, I will say this, for some reason, the cuties thing, the fiasco that it is, I can't get out my mind that and this name may not be related, so y'all, walk with me. But when T.I. wanted to make sure his daughter maintained her chase, I can't remember her name. Y'all have to let me know. I think it was Deja.
Her chassis.
He wanted to make sure she was chased and that she wouldn't know who out in them streets in Atlanta. And you had Black women going in on him for being a father and laying the law down, like, you're my daughter, this is what you're going to do. And I was like, I don't have an issue with what he's saying. Like, what's the problem with all these women? No, you want to be a hoe and you want other girls to be hoes. Now you have this situation where these young girls are being exploited on this movie and you're silent. Like, sometimes silence is golden. Sometimes when people don't say anything about something, it tells you a lot about them. And especially if you look at their track record or what they've talked about in the past. If you went in on T.I. as a woman, but it was doing the right thing, in my opinion. Now, it might have been, they might have exaggerated what he actually did, and not went exactly from what he said he did or what he said he wanted from his relationship with his daughter. And it might have been exaggerated because, it is media, social media, so things get blown out of proportion sometimes. But you went in on this man, but about him and his daughter, but you ain't going in on girls being exploited. He ain't do nothing to exploit his child. But but you have a Black woman, as you saying, a Black woman was involved in the making of this cuties mess, but you're not going in on your sisterhood of failure. What kind of mental health problems you got going on if you're not, especially if you saw it and was like, oh, this is good, and you click that little thumbs up on Netflix. You ain't hiding from me. You ain't me meaning, the public. You ain't hiding from them. They see you click that thumbs up when you watch the movie as a Black woman, and you just let that go like, oh, this is a good movie. Good where? I could hear the commentary from different people and know that was not something that I wanted to watch. Now, will I watch it possibly in the future? But, no, that don't work. What is constructive about that? That was my issue.
Well, Nicole, let me say this. I'm gonna jump out and jump back in briefly so I could.
Okay, no problem.
Let me say it briefly. Let me jump out and jump back in. So
okay. Yeah, that was a mess too. It's okay. Chaos, he might be back in a minute. No problem. He got the link. If not, I'll make it easy on everybody and put it back in here because I know the chat moves up some, and you might not be able to get it. I know because when I watch people's streams and it's live, I'm like, man, I can't get the link. So let me just keep putting it back in there. Did you want to say something real quick?
Yeah, I'm gonna put a big stop a little bit. So if you hear noise, just bear with me. This is my thing overall with this.
Mm-hmm.
A few women that talk about it, they seen nothing wrong with it. They think it was a good thing, like it was pleasant to have something like that out there. Like this is something educational. First of all, if anything is education, let's keep 100 for all people that's not dumb. You put it in a documentary, you explain with detail, interviews, all that stuff. That's education. Put it on a Netflix movie where you know it's there to make profit money. That's exploitation. There's a fucking difference, people. There's a motherfucking difference. So don't tell me that you watch a movie and as you find education. No, that's not for education. What was put out on film. And let me tell you something. The real agenda why Netflix let that out is to see where people's at in regards to pedophilia. They know a lot of people didn't like it, especially the males overall. The women, to be honest with you, Nicole, they're not being very vocal about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the women. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. My bad.
Not very vocal at all. So this is where I'm at it with it. Since the ones that's silent, the big content creators or the content creators that have somewhat of channels, I should be hearing you talking more about this and expressing your disdain, disgust. Well, no, because it doesn't push the agenda. You have to push the agenda that black men ain't shit. It was a black man that made that documentary. Girl, the internet would have broke. It would have broke so much that they're gonna say, well, see, this is why we don't like you niggas. That's why you don't deserve nothing. Matter we're gonna go over here this side, you this and that. And I'm saying, imagine that. Interesting. You got all this smoke if a man made this. But when it's one of your own sisters, because everybody knows the sister circle is strong.
Oh yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, I call it a sisterhood. I think that it's just what's going on. Dina, discussions with Dina is in the chat. What's going on? Go Professor. And let's see, anybody else new pop in here? I think that's it. Yeah, but what's up to y'all? Shout out to y'all in the chat. It's a sisterhood of failure. And I remember the first person I heard to say that was Jason Black. He mentioned that years ago. And it's true. And someone else could have mentioned it before him, but that was the first person I heard to mention that. And it's true. There's some mental illness in there that's going on. Like, one of the main issues is a lot of women don't want to admit when they're wrong. And in admitting you're wrong, you're being humble, you're submitting to the truth. A lot of us don't even want to submit to the truth, which is so easy to do. Because then if you submit to the truth, you have to do some work. You have to be accountable for what you did. And that's just not going to happen. And I'm really glad that, thank you, Go Professor. Thank you for the super chat. I'm glad the discussions with Dina that you did your stream earlier today, where you were talking about Netflix getting indicted by the, I believe it was a grand jury in Texas. Let's see. Yeah, the grand jury in Texas. They're like, look, we're tired of this mess. We're not taking this. And so my problem is they're going to be like, you're not really my problem, but the issue is really that they're going to be like, well, you can't tell us what to do and blah, 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 blah. And my problem with that response is, why y'all do this shit anyway? Like, excuse my French, but why'd y'all do this in the first place? What was the point? Like, are you being funded by pedophiles? Is that what it is?
But the code is proven. Anything you put out, well, the whole world had to pay a subscription and watch. You did that for intention, for agenda, to see where people's heads at. Remember, we're in the final stage, where the last stage, besides homosexuality, is pedophilia. And right now, there's talks about that as we speak. They're trying to regulate the laws, remove it as a mental disorder. And mind you, once it's removed as a not no longer a mental disorder, that's when it's gonna be a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, if you forgot, and I have PDFs from other good friend from the regime about certain books from the DSM. It was a mental illness up to 1972, 73. They were already talking about it, removing it back in 68. So after they removed it, what we have now going on 52, and how we could say 51 years. We have it so much that you can't do nothing because they're protected. So imagine now you have that same protection. Come here, homosexuality and pedophilia is one and the same. You now do that for the pedophiles. That means they could go rump shot and do something to your child, and they cannot be upheld to the law unless you're going to take the law in your own hands. And I don't want to get to that. I'm telling people it's going there because people, how are they going to push you? They got to pacify you first. If they don't get our generation, they damn sure going to get the ones coming up now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's how it always works. You have to engineer people to accept what is normal.
Yeah, that's what she was saying on her video earlier. That's what Dina was talking about. It was Dina, Nikki, Justice, and myself. With Dina on there on her stream, and we were saying that, like, exactly what you just said. And I'm gonna read what Dina said. She said, "I agree. You have to wonder what were the real intentions. Did they not expect parents to be upset?" Exactly. Like, I just feel like, this is another tester to see how far down the slope we've gone, and how much more can they push down the throats of people who are like, no, this is not cool, whatever. And I'm actually glad that they said, enough is enough. In Texas, of all places, they were like, look, enough is enough. We're going to at least set a precedent to stop this type of thing. Now, the indictment is going through. It may lead to, some settlements, money being exchanged, them paying some kind of fines, or, I doubt it'll lead to any kind of convictions. But if they follow up on it, because, this has set a precedent. So if they follow up on it, the states take it under their wings and they do what they want with it and move forward, maybe there's something that will come out of that, because this could be, in my opinion, this indictment can be blended into a lot of other things, a lot of other issues that we're dealing with pedophilia and children and stuff, as far as, convictions, as far as changing some of these laws in these states. And in a way, it could actually affect our community, quote unquote, our community as well, because you have a lot of mothers that I've seen, a lot of cases with mothers who willfully have men in their homes with their children, knowing that they have a lot of issues in the background, and I just need a man. And so that can affect women who decide to do that. And that's any race of woman. But particularly Black women that I see that were like, well, I really love him, but you're doing this for yourself. You're not doing this for your child. Your child, once your child is born, you don't have a life no more. Like, your child is your life,
Exactly.
So you could actually, slide into that as a preventive measure. Why is your child allowed to watch this? Why is your child allowed to be in a home with a man who has, shady background or whatever? Like, you never know. It can go in many different directions. Once the students go back to school, there's a lot of issues that will come with that. If I think myself personally, my mother agrees, like, looking into a lot of substitute teachers and counselors and teachers who, you're not supposed to be looking at people's record, but you should, I think, look into people's records. I don't think you should be teaching and you have a record of some things that are very questionable that may have gotten wiped off, because in my opinion, if you're 16 years old and you're trying to sexually, deal with a 10-year-old, that's rape, in my opinion. You 16, that's a 10-year-old. That's, you damn near an adult. So if
Exactly.
you're
actually at in certain states that, and 16 is what they call that so-called consent age in certain states. I think certain states 18. So if you're at the consent age and you do some, actually you could be held to the same criminal acts as a grown adult.
But not in every place though. You have a lot of rural places where it's a little different.
I agree.
And so if you take that story further, that this hypothetical story, thank you, back to the basics for the super sticker. But you take it further, this 16-year-old gets that expunged or whatever. And so it's like it never happened, but that 10-year-old is hurt forever.
Exactly.
You go to college, you graduate from college, 17, 18. I'm graduating from high school, you go to college, 18 or whatever. You get out 21, 22, and you decide, I want to be a teacher. You take the teacher's exam. Now you got this person that's a teacher that has that on their record, but that ain't there no more. That's the problem. And I think about that type of stuff, and my mom has talked to me about that. She said, yeah, that's something that she was talking about this cuties thing. She said this could open a whole can of worms for a lot of things changing as far as how these laws are set up. Because you have to understand that, she was alive. A lot of our moms, a lot of people in this chat, our parents were alive when they changed the DSM in that way. And she said it really did start shifting the verbiage that we see in a lot of these documents and stuff, not necessarily in a good way. She said, but it started shifting, like, for instance, one example in schooling, for instance, is paddling. They used to have corporal punishment in school. And she said a lot of places you don't have that, you don't have that anymore. And I was like, wow. She's like most places don't have that. Like, as far as private or parochial schools, I don't know, but I went to private school. We got paddled, the headmaster or the dean or whoever it was, whatever their name was, you had to go to them and you had to get paddled. You go back to class or whatever. And she said, you don't know, it could have been, they could have stopped that. I mean, they stopped it for many reasons, but one reason in particular they could have stopped it is because of sexual abuse. There are many people that talk about especially in the UK, they talk about these crimes that occurred to them when they were younger and how they had to confront the headmaster or the headmistress in court. If you watch a lot of these like UK or Australian crime channels on YouTube, like people go into detail about how they were sexually, mistreated. And I'm like, if that's the UK and Australia, why they don't have this for the US? I don't see it as much, in terms of the US, but it happened, it was there. And at that time, the guy said, this was in the 80s, the 70s, and 80s, he said, they had paddling in school. And so there's reasons why they took stuff out, put stuff in, and so I'm just saying those shifts really obviously affected people mentally, affects why you see a lot of this mess going on. And I have to wonder if the people who put this crazy movie together, if they had been through some kind of trauma in their past as a child, I really have to wonder that. Wow. Yeah, Dina, I'm reading your message. I'm reading the chat. Oh, wow. Yes, I agree. Back to the basics. I agree, Dina, what you're saying too. Back to the basics says, yes, I have no children yet. I do believe certain populations should be protected. Children, elders, orphans, and persons with disabilities. I absolutely agree with that. Yes. Dina said, my daughter is a mental health therapist, and the number of children sexual abuse cases she sees will blow your mind. I believe that. My grandmother, let me tell you something. Oh Lord, I'm sounding like my grandma now. Thank you, Vernon King, for the super chat. I'm sounding like my grandma. Let me tell you something. My grandma was a foster parent for like 15, almost maybe like 15, 16 years, something like that. And she had, I would say, over 100 kids that came through her house during that time. Like she had kids, just kids on kids on kids, just coming. A lot of the kids, sexual abuse victims, crack addiction, all kinds of issues that they had. I remember one child in particular, and I talked about on my channel once. He came to my grandma, and he was only like, he was so young. He might have been like 8 weeks old. And he was addicted to crack cocaine. And then it was 5 children. 3 came to our house. My grandma's house, which I call my house because we lived there for a while too. But 3 came to my grandma's house, and it was like, I could tell like something was wrong with the sister. It was a sister, and she was like 12, a brother was like 9, and then a baby. And the baby was like shaking and stuff. The sister, you could tell she had some problems. Like she didn't want to get undressed in front of everybody. She had like marks on her back and, different things. Like we're girls. So, so we're all getting undressed, in the room together, like, and then, going to take a bath or whatever, or we're getting dressed, like we got our towels on, we're getting dressed, put our pajamas on to go to bed. She was just really like nervous, around us. I'm like, we're girls. We don't want those stupid boys in here, we're kicking the boys out. But she was like, she didn't want to be seen in front of the girls, And I was like, something's like wrong. Is she okay? I asked my mom, is she okay? And she was like, no, she's just had a lot of pain. Y'all have to be good to her, be nice to her. And later on, when I was a teenager, found out like she had been sexually abused. She had been, sodomized. She had been, raped repeatedly by many men. Her mom was bringing it out of the house. Her mom was on crack. The brothers, they had deal with a lot of stuff. So that's, like what Dina's saying and what Back to the Basics is saying. Absolutely. Like it was rampant. And that was only one child. Like many of the other kids, I could get my phone right now and call my sister and get in touch with a lot of them right now because she has like all their numbers. I don't have all their numbers because my number changed, but they could get on the phone. Like they come to my grandma and visit her when they can, through the window, like they can talk to her. because like a lot of them have said, you know, if it wasn't for you, I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably be dead. You know, you helped me, you saved me, you took me to church, you know, besides church, like you prayed for me, you know, you fed me, you clothed me, you helped me go to sleep at night, you held my hand when I was scared. So I was kind of raised with them, you know, and I'm trying not to cry, but I was kind of raised with them. A lot of the kids, you know, and I know one of my subs in particular, she knows exactly what I'm talking about because, you know, she and I was raised together, you know, basically. And it was hard. You know, that's why when I said what I said on your channel earlier, Dina, I meant that shit. I meant that. I can't say what I would do to people that hurt children because it's not allowed on this, you know, platform or whatever. But you can turn around and put a stupid movie like Cuties out and that's allowed. You know, that's the mess I'm talking about. You know, just the overwhelming amount of pain and children that's afraid of the dark. And I felt so stupid when I was like 11, 12 years old. And I was like, man, I remember when I used to be afraid of the dark. And I would tell my dad, don't turn the light off. Don't turn the light off. All because I thought it was some monster in my room. Come to find out it was a jacket. It was a jacket hanging up. And that might seem stupid, but I was scared of that dang jacket, man. I was like, I would take the jacket every day and throw it on the floor and run to the bed. Because I would think it's like a monster. Like I could have sworn that jacket turned into a monster every night, y'all. I would have me scared, freaking out. But I'm scared of a stupid ass $10 jacket, a windbreaker. And these kids are afraid to go to bed because they think a real monster coming in their room with 2 legs, 2 arms, a head, and 2 eyes. You understand? So that's the type of thing I'm talking about. And the only reason why I can talk about it now is because even though, you know, they were foster kids and they went through their therapy and they bounced around from house to house. There was times they would go to my grandma's house. They go to like 3 other houses and then they come back to my grandma's house and then they bounce. I don't know what happened to them at the other houses, but they come back and they was like worse than when they left. You know, as they came to her house and she, you know, feed them. They skinny again. She's feeding them, you know, getting their hair right. We helping them get their hair done, helping them wash their hair, you know, and my uncle's cousins, you know, they helping, like cutting their hair, cutting the boys' hair and taking to the barber shop. You know, they chopping it up with the big boys and the guys and playing basketball. We used to play kickball, dodgeball together, you know, double dutch, all that kind of stuff. But then, you know, they scared of like a real monster, like a real person. So I felt like, oh my God, I feel so stupid for being afraid of a freaking jacket. But, you know, they needed the therapy and they got the therapy that they needed. You know, I myself, I would say, like, honestly, on here, you know, I have been through therapy. I've been through counseling. You have to. With all the mess that we do, I think it's a disservice, you know, to be a Black person. Like, we all should be therapy for free. All the stuff we done been through. You know, and mental health is not about, oh, you can't cry about it, you know, you can't, you know, have emotions. You know, mental health is about being honest and finding a place of healing. You know, that's what I think. You know, I could be wrong, but really mental health is about, you know, really finding what is the root cause of this issue, you know, finding healing, finding the truth, you know, and working up from that. So I'm gonna read the chat. Man, my title didn't get picked up. Tampa, you killing me right now, dog. Are you kidding me? Tampa said, man, my topic didn't get picked up, but I'm still enjoying the subject. Yeah, I have to put it up, you know. Maybe I'll do something, I don't know, on your topic. Let's see. What's going on, Black Uru?
Hey, how you doing, Nicole? Thanks for bringing me up. I'm my on the point of mental health. My father died about 4 years ago, and wow. I had been estranged from him throughout most of my life, particularly my adult life. My parents broke up when I was very young. My father wasn't around a whole lot. I was very bothered by that. And it not only had the effect of me being estranged from him, but it also led to me never really establishing much of any real sort of relationship with his family. So, basically, my kinship pretty much mostly are kind of based on my maternal family. My paternal family were good people. I don't have never had any issue or problem with them other than the fact that I never really knew them very much. And I remember when my father died, and I started talking with one of his sisters. Of course, my father's in his 80s at this point. I'm an old guy myself, frankly, pushing 60. So just to give you some perspective. And they, I think at some point, obviously most of them have moved on. I have only a few of his sisters that are still here. All of his brothers, I think there were about, I think there were 11 or 12 of them, maybe, 5 or 6 guys, 5 or 6 female. And I talked to one of my aunts, and she said, I knew all of my brothers and sisters. I knew them very well. The only one of them that I never felt like I knew was your father. That there was like a part of him, very important part of who and what he was, that none of us could ever really connect with. And looking back at it, my father obviously had some sort of mental or emotional issue that, an 80-something-year-old man who was born in the 1930s probably did not necessarily get, have much available help for him, if you will. And it's been tough for me because I grew up with a lot of anger towards my father. Most of the anger was, there was some domestic issues between him and my mother, which resulted in their breaking up. But most of my issue with my father was that he was not around. And as I was talking to my aunt, what I come to realize was that, and again, I'm at this point, I'm in my mid 50s. When he dies, my aunt's telling me that, the reason why your father wasn't around very much was because he was concerned about how what he was dealing with would affect you.
Oh, yeah.
And we never had this, and all the time that I knew my dad, I never knew that.
That's wow.
I all the time I thought that that he didn't want me.
Yeah.
And it kind of leaves you with you feel guilty.
Yeah, like emptiness.
I feel like I should have been able to help him.
Yeah. My condolences to you, because it's funny, but that's like real similar. I that regret of not just telling him that, Hey, you felt like it was your fault, Wow. And that, you know,
I mean, I was so angry with him for the
I was
moment.
about to say that
period of time.
anger. That anger right there, man. I've had to deal with that too. Like
And you know, you get so
hard.
you get so immersed in, and you enjoy, and I guess I'd use that phrase in quotation. You enjoy that anger, or you know, you have this sort of self-righteous thing going on with you
Mm,
about how you feel about him, and to think all that time
yeah,
he needed your help.
yeah. And then you think about the fact that he needed you. He needed you. You needed him. Your anger, and for I can speak for myself with the anger part of it. It's like you feel this self righteous, like this righteous indignation. I'm mad, you know. After a while, you know that anger becomes, you know, it becomes you. You know, people have this. They have it precedes you when you before you walk in the room. People already know that's how you are, and
And you
you have.
wasted so much time.
Oh gosh, yes, I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I mean, like I said, I'm almost 60 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and you like, I wasted decades hating or resenting my
Yep.
father.
All right. I'm gonna head back down. I'll see you.
No problem. Okay, Chaos. Thank you for coming up. I appreciate it. You was talking real.
I guess the only thing I would say is that be kind and empathetic
Mm-hmm.
to your family who needs your help.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know where you're it's funny because my mom and dad they had everything that I was mad at him about happened before I was even it happened before my dad knew who my mother was. Like just meeting on the street. It happened before he even knew she existed. You know what I'm saying? Everything I was mad about, I had to break it down into the simplest terms. And one thing that I noticed a lot of people don't get a chance to do because unfortunately, men pass away or faster than their wives or their ex-wives do a lot of times. And one thing I got to do is I got to ask him without my mom there, why did you leave? Like, why did you leave us? And I'm being for real. Like, their marriage was so happy and everything was cool, but I'm a child looking, outside looking in. I don't know what's going on. I don't know he had two children before he even met my mom. I didn't know that he had a son that was killed unfortunately in a motorcycle accident. So he was of age. He was like 14, killed in a motorcycle accident. And out there styling, profiling, trying to show off with his brother's new bike, his new motorcycle, and he runs into a truck. I didn't know that he had dealt with that pain. I didn't know that he had a child born a year before me. So when he and my mother were engaged to be engaged, and they were married, going through the wedding process and everything, he had a child. On the way, a child here and everything. And I was like, he came and he was like, I asked him, I said, why did you leave us? He said, I had so much guilt on me. I had so much on me, so many things I should have said. And I didn't know how to deal with it. He said the only way he knew how to really deal with stuff is to fight. His dad beat them so bad when he was younger. Like he would get drunk and he would just beat them. And a lot of his older brothers and sisters ran away. He said, if you see your brothers and sisters running away because they don't want to get beaten, they don't want to have to go to the hospital all the time or have to explain to somebody at church or school why they keep changing their hairstyle to cover their eye or their face or something, why they didn't come to school, then it's like, he said, you keep seeing your older brothers and sisters running away, then there's that, you start to think that's the solution to everything. I'll just run away and, come back later when I feel like it. He said it was selfish and I'm sorry. He admitted it to me. And he was like, I'm sorry for what I did. I had to tell him, like, what you're talking about with the anger. I was like, I was really pissed at you. Like, I wanted you to be dead. Like, I wanted you out of my life forever. And I didn't know where to find you. But if I could find you, it would have been on. Like, I told him.
You never think of your father as being this vulnerable thing.
Right.
You never think of him as being, it's easy for you to identify with your mother as being needing help or being hurt or lacking in some way physically or whatever. You don't have any problem at all with accepting any infirmity of your mother. But your father, you like I said, I mean, and here's the worst part about it, Nicole, for me in particular. My wife would tell me, she would tell me that there's something wrong with your father. She would tell me. Throughout most of the time that my father was alive, when we were together, she would tell me that there was something wrong with my father. On the rare occasion where I might see him, but I couldn't let go of my anger towards him. I don't know. I think it was because I didn't want to believe that there was something wrong with him.
Right.
And maybe because I thought that it would mean that there was something wrong with me. I'm sure on some subconscious level, that's probably part of it.
I agree. Yeah, you're right. I see my dad as like, the strong man, can do anything, like, I mean, my sister were like, I was 6, she was 5. He'd pick us both up, like he put me on his shoulder, put her on his shoulder, like walk around, at the cookouts. Like he was strong. He could do all kinds of stuff. He would get deployed, and go away and come back. And so going away for that was like, it's daddy's job. He's got to go. And then you come back months later. What's going on, Art? And, come back. For me, it felt like months. My mom was like, nah, he's been gone like a year. I was like, what? Like, it didn't feel like a year to me, because we could call and everything and talk to him and stuff. But he was like gone for a year, gone for, a long time. And, the time he was gone was getting longer and longer. And then, when he left, like for real, I was like, what? Like, they're like, they're separated. And I felt duped because, it was like, y'all waited until we graduated from high school and like, y'all had this planned out. Like, this was planned out. My mom was like, no, it wasn't planned out, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, and she never said like, oh, your dad ain't nothing, blah, blah. She never said that. She's like, you need to hear from his side and go to his side. But this is what I see. This is from my perspective. She felt betrayed. She felt that he portrayed himself in a way that, she would not have done to him, And I said, well, maybe he's hurting, and he was hurt. And to know, to see your dad like this Goliath of a man, in my mind, and it's like, he's in front of me, crying, breaking down. I was like, what? I never seen my dad cry unless it was like, something serious, like my brother was born. That's it. But I never saw him never saw him cry until then. And I was like, wow, you know, and it's sad. Like that took all of that to be like, wow, okay. Like you're saying, you know, just the humanness there, which I know, of course, that my dad is human, but that element was not really shown, you know, and it's okay to have, that's what I was saying earlier. It's okay to have those, you know, feelings and emotions and stuff about it. It's okay. I get it. I've been through the anger and, you know, tearing everything up. Like I'm done and cutting people off real quick. And I had to figure out like, why am I cutting people off? Like what's going on here? You know, something is going on with me. And I, like you said, I had to admit like my dad's dealing with this stuff. You know, he's human. He has flaws. Do I have flaws? Yes, I have flaws. You know, like, whoa, now I gotta do some self correction.
And
You
the
know,
thing is, you
about,
expect for people to have empathy for you having your flaws that you
yeah,
don't necessarily expect to be expressed for your father.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, you expect people to understand and to love you in spite of whatever infirmity you're struggling with. I mean, and certainly as a woman, but even as a son or whatever, you
right,
know, you expect that, but you don't confer that same gratuity to your own father. And the thing is, your fathers, our fathers know that. They know that there is no real empathy for their struggles. They
wow,
know very often whatever those struggles will likely be used against them in some way. Whether it's in some formal way if there's some issue where there's been a familial breakdown, and okay, he's struggling with some stuff. So of course, this is very convenient evidence to use against him in some custodial matter, etc. Right?
yeah,
There will be no empathy for
right,
him. You know, that'll be definitely very convenient utility for the opposite party with respect to any sort of custodial or whatever. So men know that. And so they will definitely operate in a way to keep private any struggles of that sort they might have, because they know that, you know, whatever little access or little leverage they might have with respect to issues involving custody, child support, whatever, they
yeah,
know that'll be used against them if they're having some sort of problem. And so they'll put it inside, and it'll accelerate the inner turmoil and destruction within them.
yeah. And for him, it is physically, you know, to this day, it's physically broken him down. Like, you know, that type of thing. I think for all the years of stress and like you said, like just holding that piece of coal so close, you know, just holding it, holding a piece of coal in a tin can. That's what he said. He said, you have a piece of coal, it's in a tin can, you hold it close enough, you know, hold it long enough close to your chest. You're gonna burn your damn chest. You know, he's like, that's how I feel. I'm just holding this piece of coal and this, you know, old tin can. And, you know, I was like, well, what is the coal? He said, the coal is just my guilt, you know, my struggles, not being able to tell his dad what he really felt about him before he passed. You know, not being able to tell his mom because he was 2 years old when she died.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, like he's number 14 out of 15. They'd already lost a child that didn't make it past like 6 months, one of his sisters. And then he's number 14, and my uncle under him, last one, he's number 15. So, you know, when she had number 15, my uncle, she passed like a week or so later. You know, and my dad is like 2 years old. He's like, I never knew her. And he said, the only thing as far as a parent he knew was in the household, like that they had was small house, very, very small house. I was like, I don't know how the hell y'all fit in this house. Like it's
There's a lot of people.
like like a 2 bedroom cabin type of deal, with the little stove pipe thing, and for the little what is it called, cast iron stove in the middle.
So probably heated the house
yeah.
as well as cooked the food.
Yeah, I was like, how do y'all? He said we did what we had to do, and he was like, but the only parent he had was a dad that drank a lot, very abusive, didn't talk to you much.
And
His
he himself
brothers.
had a whole lot of other kids that he had to take care of with a departed wife.
Yep.
So I mean, even him,
Right.
even your grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
that I mean, I don't empathize with
Yeah.
that,
I'm looking at that like, wow. And then the other part of outside of the home, he said other adults that raised him, his dad's girlfriends, his dad's aunties who are older women at that time, much older, and they come in
Right.
and, cleaning the house up and clean this up, do this, pick this up, do that, and telling them what to do. And he said, so, I said, oh, so the Black women or the women in your life in the household when you're a little boy, they're mean. He's like, yeah, they were mean to us. They used to whip us and stuff.
And they come and go.
Yes, exactly. They were.
So I mean, more than even any sort of abuse or whatever that may come with them, probably the worst aspect of his relationship with him is that there were probably quite a few of them.
Yeah. Closure.
So how does that inform his relationship with women in general?
Right.
His expectations probably does so in a way that is not optimal.
Yeah. And he said he had.
And unfortunately, your mother may have experienced some of that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And coming into the marriage, he was like, they see he's very good at compartmentalizing, which I think most men are skilled at that, at being able to compartmentalize, you yourself, I'm sure, just the things you're explaining here. It's like, hey, being able to say, okay, I'm gonna put that aside, I'm gonna hold on to this turmoil, even though I know it's killing me, but I'm just gonna I'm gonna slide that over there.
I have two adult daughters, and I have two adult daughters.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And as of late, very late, I have started to engage in them and with them in more earnest conversations about the concerns that we express here, because it's more or less sort of exercising the demons, if you will, if you understand what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And as discomforting as it is for me to be vulnerable with them, it's very discomforting. I mean, to my younger daughter, I am Thor, So it's very discomforting to be vulnerable to your daughters. I mean, I really empathize with your father, because you spend your whole life as a father presenting yourself as being the shield, as being the vanguard, the champion for your daughters, especially your daughters. I don't have any sons, so I can't even directly identify with how that would manifest with them. But especially with your daughters, you go all out, balls out to the world. You don't fuck with my daughters.
Right.
And so then the reveal that you yourself in some way are lacking, that there may be something going on within you that you have to be especially conscious of and astute about, and something that you may live your whole life and never really totally conquer. Man, that's the damnedest thing for any father to do. Any
Yeah.
father.
Yeah. And it was hard. Yeah, and it is hard. It is hard to do that. You're making a lot of sense because I hear exactly what you're saying. I mean, the day that I talked to him, oh my God, like he had, which he shouldn't have been drinking, but he wanted to have his Jack. Like, fine, you got Jack, I got Patron. Let's do this. You know,
He probably had to have the Jack just to get it all out.
right? No, he had to have the Jack just to sit down and start having a conversation. He
That's
was
what I
like,
mean. That's what I mean. He's like, I gotta get it all out. I gotta get in the proper mind frame.
it was like you know, I guess like a mafioso, like the Don or whatever. And it's like, you've come for me, haven't you? Well,
I know
this
it's
is
over.
my last day
So I'm
here.
gonna tell you everything.
Right. I'll tell you everything. It's like I'm the FBI agent showing up. You've come for me. Okay. You know what? And let me get it straight.
You remember The Godfather? What was his name? Where the guy eventually he commits, Harry in the restroom, where he's revealed everything to the FBI, and obviously he regrets having to essentially rat out the Corleone. So eventually, you tell everything and then you split your wrist.
Right.
So yeah, he was like, I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna get it all out, and whatever happens after this point, it's too late. I can't do anything about it.
Well, I won't feel it anyway. Like,
Exactly.
if you shoot me, I won't feel it anyway. I'll just go to sleep.
Right.
Yeah. Like it was crazy. Like he was like, I said, well, I want to talk to you about something, I remember I said to him on the phone, because he don't like to text and stuff. I was like, we need to talk. He was like, about what? And then he talked about something. You pregnant? I was like, no, I'm not pregnant. He was like, oh, good God. Like, I said, no, I ain't pregnant. He was like, oh, okay. What you need to talk about? I said, it's some things I need to get off my chest. And he was like, oh, okay, well.
We finally reached this point.
Finally.
I'm sure, I'll bet you his thought was, oh shit, I've been with, however old you are, he probably thinking, well, we're X number of years in this happening, so here we go.
Mm-hmm. He was like, he's like, where you at? I was like, I'm about 15 minutes away. He was like, okay, well, stop by the liquor store, give me some Jack. I was like, okay, I'll get you some Jack. You need a chase. I don't need no goddamn chaser. I don't need no chaser.
No, it's like, not
he's like really like a pirate. He's talking about some kind of pussy motherfucker. You think I ain't? You know, damn chaser. I was like, okay, bye. I just hung up. I was like, he mad for nothing. Like, what is the deal? I could have came there and talked about anything. He talking, okay, fine. Like this is his last day on Earth or something.
Just bring some ice, whatever.
Yeah. Probably felt like that to him. I get there and he all, hands, all, like he's rubbing his hands. I'm like, what you, Birdman or something? Like he rubbing his hands. I'm nervous, like he's about to go meet the judge. And I'm like, dude. Like, what's the
probably shaking his head from side to side.
He was just like, well, come on in, let's get this over with. I'm like, okay. Like this stuff, I was like, this ain't no like medical procedure. So I'm like pouring the drinks and everything. And because I've been trained like when someone lets you in their home, as soon as they let you in, you go to the kitchen, clean up, get everything right, clean, wash the glasses, clean them out. And you make the drinks, and then you sit down. So he didn't even do that. He just like walked to the couch because he already knows that's what I'm gonna do.
Well, so and the thing, it probably had gone through his mind innumerable. Yeah. So while you kind of, okay, I'm finally gonna go here with him. To him, it's like I knew this day was coming. Yeah. Let's do this.
I was like, well, and I'm talking to him, and he was just like, and then he taking sips, and I'm like, slow down, player, like you drink a little much there, but he told me everything that he had to say, and I was like, wow, I didn't know that, And I didn't know that about him, like that side of him. And I felt robbed because I didn't have that quality time with him like that, you know. And it was like I was seeing like he's maybe, he's multifaceted, but I was not seeing every dimension of him. And I felt like, man, I felt robbed, and he said, no, you got to know every bit of me in the right time. It wasn't the right time. And I was like, okay. He's like, so, we'll go from here and see what happens. And he's like, I didn't want to, put that on you. When you come to me, my children come to me, then I know, it's time, to talk about this stuff, that you're ready to accept it. You're looking for what you need to find. And I'm here to give you what you're asking about, and tell you what's going on. He's like, but he didn't have the training from a child or a young person to like I said earlier, relationships, there was not a lot of closure, not a lot of explanation for things. Things just happened and you dealt with it and kept moving. And he's like, I didn't want to live my life like that for you guys. I want you guys to know what's going on. And it just so happens that I'm the first one that went to him and was like, yo, what's up? Let's talk, old man. He's like, call me old man. I'm like, let's talk. And now we talk and everything, and it's cool. We're cool and everything. And I mean, he's doing fine. He's just trying not to get corona. That's like the main thing. Keeping his mask.
At the age we are, that's a very important thing.
Yeah. That's the main thing. He's like, I'm trying to get this damn corona. Yeah. I'm out here wearing this mask. I got gloves on. Like, you need to be at home. You don't need to be going nowhere. You stay home. You gotta do, like, you gotta go get stuff done. And you talk about something. He having issues with somebody in CVS. And he can do what he wants to do. It's just I'm like, you can't be doing that, man. You can't be going out every day. I can't go out every day. No, go home. You're like, man, okay. Like, you can't this ain't no 1970s flu or nothing. You gotta be like on tip top shape. He was like, all right. He listens to what I say. Everything I say on here, I tell him. I'm like, yo, you can't be talking to women you meet in the grocery store no more. Them days over with.
Right. Well, it's a very sobering phenomenon to suddenly be in a position where your parent, and either parent, male or female, mother or father, it's a very sobering experience to have either of them defer to you. Very sobering. I've lost both of my parents. Unfortunately. And I remember, just some things with my mother and dealing with issues involving property and, her eventual estate and everything. And I remember like her kind of going on about some stuff. And I remember sort of definitively telling her, this is what we were going to do. And I remember her not saying anything after I told her this is what we were going to do. And I remember thinking, oh shit, I'm suddenly in a senior position in this relationship. I was not prepared for that. I was prepared to, be deferential to my mother. I was prepared to, be differential to my father. And then suddenly you're in a position where they're relying on your guidance. They're relying on your recommendations. And I mean, they truly are. No one really prepares you for that.
Exactly.
Where suddenly you're the lead. You're the matriarch, patriarch, whatever. In the Black community in particular, no one ever really prepares you for being in a position where people whom you might have deferred to all or most of your life are suddenly deferring to you. It's a very sobering and can even be startling experience for you, because coming up to that point, you're accustomed to being able to rely upon being able to defer to someone else. Not to say you're not intelligent and smart and very knowledgeable and capable, but you kind of have this sort of, they're the kind of backstop. You're the backstop now. Whatever happens, ride or die, success or fail, is predicated on your decision now. And again, no one ever prepares you for that until you're actually in that position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody prepares you for that. You're in that position, now you have to make a very important decision, and it's like, wow.
I mean, when you talk to your father about Corona, he is genuinely relying on, from his perspective, he is genuinely relying on you to help preserve his health. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one thing to view that from, I mean, obviously you're a professional scientist, very knowledgeable in that area, but it's one thing to counsel other people in that regard. It's a whole other thing to counsel your father in that regard. It's a whole other experience.
Yeah, I got pushed back in January. I was like, Daddy, there's this virus. He's like, oh, what you did? I was like, I didn't do anything.
What did you release?
I didn't do anything. He was like, oh gosh. I was like, he's like, did you blow up the lab? I was like, no, I didn't blow up the lab.
How much time we got?
Yeah, he was like, you done did something. I was like, I didn't do anything. He's like, I see they talking about China and stuff. He keeps up with China, Russia, and in North Korea and stuff. He got friends over in South Korea, and so he keeps up with a lot of stuff around. And he got friends in Germany and everything. They telling him stuff. And I was like, why you act like you didn't know then? Why you act like you didn't know? He's like, I knew already. I just didn't think it was that serious. I'm like, well, it is serious. I'm gonna tell you why. He's like, oh, here we go. And so he was like, he don't see me as like, like up there, like scientist. He's like, man, you still my daughter. Like, I'm just a little girl that he put to bed, put in the bed and help give a bath and, feed when I was sick and stuff like that. But he does take it seriously. Like, it took a few days, but he really was like, wow, I see what you're talking about. And so when I tell him, like, when they were saying initially, like, oh, you don't need this mask, I was like, don't listen to that. You need to wear this mask. We already wearing masks. Like, we don't listen to all that. We know what it is, what's going on, and
I'm glad you said that. What was the deal initially about not kind of recommending the mask? What was that about?
I think it's because they did not think that it was, they thought that it was like a type of flu, a type of influenza, but not necessarily like a SARS type of virus, like a retrovirus like this. And so that's probably why they didn't understand the transmission rate. The R0 numbers were not clear. The number of people hospitalized versus number of people dead was not clear. Because, we don't wear masks for the flu. Most people in America don't wear masks for the flu. But right. A lot of Asian people that are here in California, at least in Los Angeles, even when it was flu season, they were wearing masks even before this, for years.
But it's interesting, if you see any sort of video or photograph of people in parts of Asia, they very frequently wear, or some parts of percentages of the population very frequently wear masks.
Yeah, pollution.
Are they right? Or I guess apparently those people who were wearing masks years ago were right. They had okay.
I think so, because it's other things involved in China, certain areas of China specifically. One is not only during the flu season, you have like influenza that we get here, but it's already been there for months. going strong. And so here it's like what, October, end of September through October, all the way to like late February or something. But there it's earlier than that. It's like end of August, and they have issues with the flu. But it's also, the second thing is not just the flu, but you have pollution year round. So a lot of people that are from China that are here, they are like, why do I see, every time I see a news report from China, even if it's like in July, people got masks on in public when there's no flu season. This is years ago when they were like, oh, because of pollution, really bad pollution, the air quality is not that good. I was like, oh, okay. Because I saw N95s for years on people. And even here, like, well, LA has a lot of pollution, but even here, I would see a lot of Asian people that were wearing masks. I used to live in Koreatown, and I used to go to Chinatown and Little Tokyo, but in Koreatown, like walking around that area, a lot of in and out of stores and stuff, I would see a lot of Asian women, especially with masks on, older women in particular, with a mask on that worked there. And this is way before we even knew what coronavirus was. It's like 2 years ago, a year ago, and I'm like, wow, okay. So it's just something that they do. It's almost like embedded in their culture in a way that they want to protect themselves, not just
even like prior to COVID. I mean, there's always been like thousands of people in the United States, maybe even tens of thousands of people in the United States every year who would die from flu-related ailments.
That's true.
And it sort of begs the question of, have we always been is COVID really only just an exaggeration of a condition that has really always existed? We just have tolerated it from a mathematical standpoint. And the only difference really is that the numbers are higher, considerably higher proportionate than have always existed, going, referencing back to just your traditional seasonal flu.
No, I see what you're saying, but this is like the same thing that happened in 1918 is happening now with a new sequence of virus that nobody has been exposed to before. And that's the main thing. And so it just has to, like BGS has said many times, I have said it too, like on here and like other places, like hopefully it will mutate to a less lethal form, or it will mutate to a form where you don't have permanent tissue and organ damage or failure. Because that's the difference between this one and the SARS, the first SARS is, or even MERS, is that it without mutation, it was causing such a burden on the healthcare system. And not only the healthcare system, like physical healthcare, but mental health. They start doing a telemedicine. If you want to have your counselor, your therapist or whatever, you have to talk to them through the screen. And some people can't do that very well. They need to have that human interaction.
Let me ask this question, and I'm sure this would vary based on obviously the virus and maybe in the history of mutation of a virus, but it would seem to me that the optimal state of a virus would be to merge with a host and keep the host alive.
Yeah.
So would you then say that the natural trajectory of a virus, or maybe generally, is to mutate to a stasis in which it can survive and thrive within a host without terminating that host?
Yeah, that's the idea for a naturally occurring virus.
Okay, naturally occurring, that's the key.
Right. Yeah, that's what I think the difference is, because a naturally occurring virus is something that has, hypothetically evolved within that population of animals or people or even plants that can have a virus. Tobacco mosaic virus is an example. I mean, it eventually kills the plant, but initially it is cohabitating with the plant and as a parasite in a way. Extracting nutrients, changing cellular composition, things like that.
Sort of a
But
symbiote of
the symbiote, exactly. So yeah, so with us, there is a symbiotic relationship that occurs when patients are asymptomatic, somewhat of a symbiotic relationship. You don't know that you have the virus, you don't know you have symptoms, and it is proliferating. And so it is using your system to proliferate. Your system is not fast enough to respond to it. So in my opinion, like that's not a naturally recurring virus because the death, in this person, that's an older person. So their organs are older. Their circulatory system is older, 60 years old, 50 years old, 75 years old. The T cells get exhausted very quickly. You have the cytokines that are coming in if they can, because you have people that are on certain medications that reduce their is suppressing their immune system. So yeah, you're going to have almost immediate death with that. People who are younger, we're noticing that it's organ failure, so one kidney is failing, you have another kidney. So you could hypothetically be okay, but you still need a transplant at some point. You're still a burden on the healthcare system. You have circulatory issues now. You need dialysis more likely than not to stay alive, so that's what we're looking at. Not only that, but it puts a burden on your population and your labor into the future, because if you have people younger than 40 within the workforce who are having these organ and tissue damage occur and injury that's occurring, they can't work. So that all of those factors, when I look at them from different perspectives, it is, I'm like, this is not naturally occurring. This is something different. And it is not like the SARS that they saw before. It's not behaving like a normal, virus would. It's just not. It's doing both things. It's not just killing, it's like destroying certain organ, not just like a heart, it's destroying the pulmonary system, heart, lungs, and all the arteries that are involved in your heart and lungs. It's destroying both kidneys in some people. It's destroying both lobes of the liver, in certain people. Some people, it's the liver and the kidneys are gone. So you're dead. And so that, when I look at that, I was like, this is not normal. And it only takes, it doesn't take as much virus to get you to that point where you are incapacitated. It doesn't take as much to do it. When I look at mice, they were counting 20 viral bodies out of 20 viral bodies per mil of blood, which is not a lot. So I would think, if I had to extrapolate, I would think, 20 in a mouse per mil, that could be up to 2,000 per mil in a person. A mil is like a thimble size, a teaspoon or something. So you go by liters for a human being. So you might look at 200,000 viral bodies per liter in a person, which is not that much.
Like a single cough, essentially.
A single coronavirus little ball, 200,000 of those is not a lot. Our cells are 150 times bigger than a virus. 200,000 is, it's smaller than a pencil eraser. If you had to fit it into a tube, it's smaller than a pencil eraser. 200,000 cells. I would say if you packed it into a tube, it might be a fourth of the size of a pencil eraser. On the regular, pencil. If you cut that into 4 pieces, 1/4 of it, that's about 200,000 cells. So if you cut that into 1,000 pieces, maybe that really, really tiny piece of rubber is 200,000 viruses, perhaps. If you had to I'm thinking of it physically, because our cells are way bigger than a virus. This virus is 0.3 nanometers. I ain't never seen none that small.
Proportionate to the size of the cell. What?
Proportionate to the size of the cell, that's about 150 times smaller than
Wow.
our cells. We have huge cells that
Wow.
are from a patient, very, very, very small. So they can infect, many cells. It doesn't take as much corona to infect people. That's the other issue. When I see people, walking past me, don't look at me crazy when I turn around and walk off. And I put my shirt over my face and then put my mask on real quick. I didn't know your dumb behind was gonna walk past me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Because you're acutely acquainted with just.
Yeah, I am not trying to do that at all. No.
And it's interesting you say that because I myself do that. Although it obviously I don't have the education and awareness to the degree you have, but there's something internal, and it's been throughout this entire process that has suggested to me that this is worse than is even being communicated to us.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's being presented as some sort of Darwinistic test of some sort.
I don't know.
And the only reason I'm saying is that it's almost like we're being forced to either be prepared genetically or physiologically to defy this thing or not. That we're not going to be able to manipulate science necessarily in a way that we're going to be able to surmount it. I mean, we will to some degree, but I just get the impression inevitably you're either going to have to be able to have what it needs to survive this thing, or
right.
that maybe I'm being extreme, but that's what I see.
No, you're not being extreme. I think a lot of people are looking at it like that. I hadn't really thought about it. Sometimes the thoughts like that go through my head and then I'm like, I'll think about that later, and it goes out. But you're making a good point.
Because there's so many elements of it that would appear to be so. It appeared to be so elusive, and appeared to be so dynamic in ways that we're just not going to be able to, especially in the short term, we're not going to be able to scientifically finesse our way through it. Maybe over the long term we will be, but like when you were talking about this on Dr. Dunbar's channel, and you had mentioned the possibility of there being a vaccination by sometime next year. With respect, it's not that I disagree with that necessarily, but when you just kind of follow the trajectory of this thing, it seems as though to me that is going to defy that. I mean, this thing looks like it's just going to kind of jump the flood.
Well, it could, because you have a point. I have to confer to what you're saying, because it is able to get in every organ, including the brain, and it is not a virus that is concentration dependent, because a concentration dependent means that the more virus you have, the sicker you are. And it is not a concentrate, which also leads me to believe it is not naturally occurring either. But usually the more influenza virus you have, the sicker you are. And I mean, this is controlling for your diet and your overall health in general. But usually that's how it works, especially in a animal model. But this one is not necessarily true. You can have a lower titer for the virus in your blood, but it's in your brain, affecting your thinking, affecting therefore affecting your mental acuity, when it comes to doing basic tasks, your memory, your cognition, your recall of certain things. And, we already know that Agent Orange was talking about how that test was, And it was hard. And, I had to take this test and it was hard. I'm like, dude, this was months ago, if y'all remember. And it was kind of hard, I'm like, dude, all you had to do was answer yes or no. So I was questioning it even then. That's why I said months ago, I was like, something wrong here. But if a virus can get in your brain, that's something else. If it can get in your semen, fellas, watch out.
Oh,
Rona, if it can get in certain places where viruses normally don't go, then yeah, like it's the issues. Like there's some other things going on
yeah,
there.
like,
But I
like I
agree.
said,
A shutdown, I feel, I can just feel it. I have the same sense that I had before, like mid-February, late February. I was like, man, they're gonna shut down. Like we listened to the governor every day coming home at that time. And I was like, I feel like they're gonna shut everything down. They got to. And I feel like that again. For one reason, we having issues with our orders. We're having issues like getting orders in. We're getting orders in that are incomplete. We order 5 vials or something, we only get 1 vial, and they only charge us for 1 vial. And then then we order something else, we're supposed to get a whole pack of 10, and we only get a pack of 1. Like literally, they send a box.
And when they're that
And
disparity in the disparity of those orders, is there any explanation provided, or?
You call the company, give them your PO and everything, your purchase order number and all that stuff, and the account information, and they're saying, well, we didn't charge you for 5, we charged you for 1. Okay, I didn't ask you that. I asked you where am I?
Wow.
I said,
So they never even, from their perspective, even intended to fulfill your
no,
order.
yeah, I'm assuming they didn't intend,
That's not a good sign at all.
Yeah, they're like, well, what do you use this for? And I'm thinking, y'all don't want to make it. And I said, okay, I forget this is the purchase department. So I'm like, okay, we'll use it to extract RNA. We'll use it to reverse transcribe RNA into DNA. We'll use it to analyze DNA and expression of certain genes. That's what we use it for. She said, oh, well, I think that product you're trying to order in the bulk that you're ordering it, even though you have historical order history with us, and we appreciate your business, but it's in high demand right now. I was like, hold up. It wasn't in high demand in February. All of a sudden, it's in high demand. It's October. You see what I'm saying? So these are the same products that the products we use to isolate and quantitate and then identify certain RNA sequences. Well, this is an RNA virus. So
and the fact that
same thing we use.
The fact that they are not forthright and explaining why, explaining the disparity between what you ordered and what you received means that they not only intend to not fulfill your order, but they intend to condition you to accept the fact that they're not going to be able to give you what you request.
Right.
And that's even worse than them not fulfilling your order. Because that's them basically saying that things have changed, things are different, and you're going to have to accept whatever we choose to or are enabled to provide you. And that's not a good thing, because that's a whole different kind of just not only business model, but that is suggesting some other things are going on that, as you appear to allude to, that have some sobering kind of conclusion. And
which leads to what you were saying. Yeah. And so I was like, I think Michael Cohen mentioned it once. He's like, yeah, this don't sound right, because I'm the one who, it's we gene.
Hey, for some reason you're kind of boarding out there the last minute or so. Yeah, I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're still kind of. I don't hear you. I don't know if the folks in the public chat hear you, but I don't hear you.
Okay, hold on 1 minute.
Well, I hear you now. So
Oh,
whatever
you hear me all right?
right now, yeah. But I'm saying like 2 or 3 minutes prior to that, I didn't really.
Oh, yeah, I was saying I'm the one who has to take certain packages when they come in, and I have to sign off on them, put them away. And I'm the one who's ordering these packages that are coming in. So I see everything from the beginning to the end, and all I need to do is, put it in the freezer, the fridge, wherever. And so I'm like, I know I ordered, 5 tubes.
How are senior officials? I don't know the hierarchy of the organization.
Oh, well, the
But
senior
how
people,
they're responding to this?
they're having a lot of meetings, and that's another bad
Exactly.
sign. Yeah, they have a lot of meetings,
I hope you're privy to those
Mhm.
meetings, because maybe some stuff being said in those meetings that you may
No,
want.
Alicia, there's no possibility of it being a bacteria. Bacteria don't act like this. They don't mutate like this.
No,
They don't kill you like this. They don't destroy your
No.
organs like this. It's
No.
already been sequenced. They know it's a virus.
if it were bacteria, they would have long since figured out a way to resolve.
Yeah, exactly. Bacteria have a certain genome, usually DNA genome, circular DNA. This is an RNA genome, totally different, single-stranded RNA genome. And people are like, well, how are they running these gels? I know that Psychopathias and Renee were talking about it the other day about the PCR test variability that they had in PCR tests. And I said, oh, yeah, like the CT value. CT value is the cycle threshold. So it's hard to say, but when you make DNA from an RNA strand, and like if I swab inside of my cheek and I want to take the DNA strand, I want to determine how much of a certain gene is in my body from that cheek swab, I can do that with RNA. You just synthetically copy the RNA to a double-stranded form. Now you got DNA. It naturally will start to coil on itself. You got DNA. Now you to determine what gene you want to look for. You got naked DNA sitting there. What do you want to look for? So you get primers to figure out what gene you want to look for. Those primers are specific to that gene, no other gene. So that's what they did. They sequenced the virus RNA. They copied the virus RNA, got all the sequences that they needed for it, made primers out of the RNA for the virus itself. And now we can compare those virus sequences to a human sample. If you match, you had a virus. If you don't match, you don't have the virus. That's how it works. And they don't match it to one sequence from the virus. They match your sequence to like 20 different sequences in the virus genome. The genome is a collection of all the genes in the virus. They just randomly pick 20 of them, and they say, okay, well, you match 19 out of 20. More than likely you got the virus. That's 90% accuracy, basically, like over 90%, but that's pretty accurate. Like that, you got it, honey, you got it. If you might get like 3 out of 20, okay, we need to do another test on you, test your blood or something, because that 3 out of 20, that might not be accurate there. And a cycle threshold will tell you not just how much virus you have, it'll tell you the quality of the virus DNA you have. And if the quality is high of virus DNA you have, that is indication that the virus has been there a while and it could mutate. It could have mutable properties. And so all of that makes a difference as to how, knowing those things makes a difference as to how you're going to treat this patient, how you're going to quarantine this patient. Like, it is definitely not a bacteria. They literally compared a bunch of viruses that they know of to a bunch of bacteria that we know of. And the bacteria group does not match the virus group at all. I mean, I look at the sequence, I'm like, this is literally like night and day. Like it does not match. So I mean, I know that some people still think that this is I had somebody asking me if this was what was it? They said, is this a flatworm? I was like, you don't kick rocks. A flatworm, my dude. You emailed me for that? A flatworm?
I mean, are people looking?
Oh Lord.
Is this like wishful thinking of some sort that this is actually something that is viewed to be more manageable than what is being presented? I mean, I think it's odd that, after, 9 months or whatever into this thing, that people are still speculating as to what's the real source of it.
Right.
I mean,
you're right. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I think the lack of I think the quality of American education and or lack thereof has unfortunately been greatly exposed during this pandemic. It's not to question anyone's intellect or anything like that, but I mean, to be, like I say, 8-9 months into this, and we're speculating as to whether or not this is something other than the virus, I mean, does not foretell well for where we are in terms of how we need to deal with this and what will inevitably be other sorts of issues of this sort going into the future.
Oh yeah.
My only question, and maybe this will sound conspiratorial, is not necessarily what it is, but why it is.
Right. That's my question.
I cannot. It's difficult for me to, based on what you shared, what I've read, what I've heard, it's difficult for me to view this to be other than some sort of biological warfare. And if that is true, I mean, we know historically what has been done when, an adversarial nation state, became engaged in warfare. What do we do now?
Yeah. And so I've heard that question a lot in meetings and I'm just like, y'all the ones supposed to tell us what we're supposed to do. And they're like, what are we supposed to do now? What are we supposed to do now? I'm like, what?
Then you're not a scientist or just a scientist. You're also a soldier.
Well, yeah, because in a way, and in saying that, you follow orders, you follow what command is giving you to do.
Exactly.
And then, when they're like, well, what do you all think? I'm like, oh, where Craig at? Because y'all supposed to tell us, like, can we get Craig in here? Like we're looking around like, what the hell?
And your responses will have some consequences beyond just your scientific analysis. It can very well become a part of some sort of military policy.
Right. So that keeps me on that keeps everybody on a short leash,
Yeah.
Like that's one reason why it keeps a lot of us on a short leash. Another reason why is because, and that just reduces it really stifles your creativity, because it's like you have so many tools at your disposal and you can't really, do what you want. You can write it down and hopefully do it later. And the second thing is like, we don't know when there's a day we can't go to work. We can't go in there and without the proper PPE. We're running out of PPE. We're running out of gloves. We we're supposed to get like 3 cases of gloves a week, and one a case is only like 10 boxes in there. So you get 10 boxes of small, 10 boxes of medium, 10 boxes of large. Then we go this week, we only get 1 box of each. 1 box of medium, no, 1 box of small, 2 boxes of medium. They didn't have large, so we got three boxes, 2 mediums and 1 small. Like that shows me right there, the supply chain is getting very tight again. If the company that you're ordering from is telling you like, hey, we don't have this, and I just need to do a simple experiment. I ain't doing no crazy stuff, but they're like, well, we're not gonna give it to you. Other people, they need it for their work that's more important than yours. So I'm like, okay, you just told me I'm not essential. That's what you told me. That's what I heard. I'm not essential, but you're right. What do we do? The main thing for me is, my mom was like, you got to say sometimes, F it, F that lab, forget that. I have to do what's best for me outside of that, which is my family, making sure we got everything stocked up, making sure we got a generator, it's still hot out here from time to time, and making sure we have everything we need. We got to get another generator actually, but having things in more than one location, and still finding the time to, like, back to the basics of saying earlier, Dina was saying earlier, still find the time to have self-care, still find the time to take care of one another, check in on one another, get your supplies up and all that stuff. Even though there's a lot of things that happen that are not spoken on, and as a scientist, I analyze the field and I'm like, okay, I got to move this way. I have to be strategic. And yeah, back to the basics just said, she's like, there's a global shortage of PPE. Basic. I mean, I don't even use the mask because I know other people need them. I have my own. But the surgical equipment, surgical gowns, booties, bonnets, some of the tie straps, tie-ons that we use for like adjustable surgical areas, the pads we need for sterility, to maintain sterility in a certain area, filters we need to put on our gas mask when we're using certain anesthetics. I can't breathe in anesthetics without a hood or, a gas mask, basically a painter's mask on. It has to have filters, right? So I can't do my surgeries, without that. So Mike's just getting older and getting fat and, about to die. How am I going to do surgery on a mouse that's fat when my study is about fat? Like I can't do that. I'm trying to reduce the cholesterol, but he's full of cholesterol because he's just old and fat. I can't do nothing with that. All I can do is take the mouse that's like, getting older and fatter, and I can sacrifice them and do something with the tissues, the organs. I can practice surgeries. I mean, there's only so much practice you can do. But seeing those things happening, I'm trying to warn other people.
Yeah, I mean, we're not. I remember doing 9/11. And I remember being very disappointed in the response of this country, which essentially was, keep on doing what you're doing and keep on shopping or whatever, and other than having this sort of color-coded warning system, was it green, yellow, red, or whatever, and the Patriot Act, which basically was their way of effectively surmounting the Constitution. Other than that, there wasn't anything required in the way of sacrifice of the people. It's pretty clear to me that some sacrifices are going to have to be made by all of us.
Yeah.
And what I regret is not having to make the sacrifices. What I regret is we don't have the leadership to speak honestly to the people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, the ship is sinking. Okay, you know the ship is sinking. What can we do to maximize the survivability of the people who are on the ship? We know we're going to lose some people, but there may be some things that we can do while we're on the ship, and there may be some things that we can do with respect to, you know, the what do you call it, the boats, survival boats, whatever, to increase the possibility or increase the number of survivors. And,
you know, you
essentially
mentioned something before.
what I
You
see
know-
happening is that the leadership is waiting till we get to a point in which there's a mad rush to those boats.
Yep. You know, you mentioned something. This is so funny. I was listening to BGS's stream 9 months ago entitled Off My Chest, the SYSBM Backlash. Why I listened to that stream, I don't know. But I was like, you know what? There was something I missed. I think that's why I was listening to it. I was like, I missed something. And because I was watching it in segments. And I kept like missing like 30 minutes here, hour there. So I went back and I always read comments. And you left a comment there.
Sometimes my mental state evolves. So
I remember you have a comment here and it says, I almost feel sorry for, you know, another content creator. He said he is pouring water from a teacup from the deck of a sinking ship. I was like, wow.
yeah.
That goes to pretty much what not only what people are trying to do, but what they are expected to do. Like, I'm just gonna take this teacup, like, this will get them. Like, no, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. And look, we're all frightened, and with good reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, make no mistake, we're moving in some perilous territory.
Yeah.
And some hard decisions may have to be made going forward from that point. And it may mean, you know, it's like any other kind of scenario, you know, whether it's a war or, you know, where you have triage and you know, aid those you can, all that type of stuff. I mean, it's easy to say when you're not in the actual position of someone who someone else may decide whether or not to save. So it's easy to say, but again, the very worst thing we can do is what we're doing right now and not be honest about the direction in which things are going. You know, and here's the thing though, panicking ain't gonna save us.
Right. I was about to mention
You know, so the best thing you can do is be honest and say, look, this is where things are trending. And at least in the short term, we don't necessarily foresee how we will get to a softer landing of some sort. So there's going to be some trouble. And so, look, if you have some resources or talents, and other people have some other complementary resources and talents, maybe y'all need to work that shit out so y'all can weather the storm. But this whole thing of where the leadership is not being honest about what's going on and is playing politics in DC about who gets what based on the stimulus package and the way that's organized. I won't say what should happen to the leadership class of this country. But in a better world, we will be in the process of selecting the new leadership class.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because they are the captains on that ship where a teacup is being used to pour water from a sinking ship. I mean, that's very apparent amongst
Yeah,
what.
sometimes it's worse than that. Sometimes they're actually trying to drink all the water.
Exactly.
They're like, I'll just drink it. That we won't sink. Like, no.
We're not. If you're drinking the water, you're not changing the relative, percentage of water on the book.
You're just moving it around.
Exactly. You're moving it from the floor to your body. The
Your
weight
mouth.
distribution is the same.
In about an hour, it'll be on the floor again. Like,
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
you ain't doing nothing. That was a really good. When I saw that, I just fell out laughing. I was like, what? I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I
When
mean, and that definitely symbolizes what I see amongst what's happening now. And look, I have a wife, I have daughters. Man, there's nothing about my own particular life that is comforted about where things appear to be going.
Sure.
Not in the least bit. Because it would be one thing if I just had to worry about myself and survive and, crawl up under a sewer somewhere, with some rats or whatever and just kind of hide from everything. But, as a man, you can project yourself into all kinds of crazy scenarios. As a husband and father, you can't do those things. So I'm not comforted at all about the trouble I foresee coming. And it is infuriating that we have the least capable leadership at this particular time.
At this time, that's what I was, and they have this World Mental Health Day tomorrow, and I was like, this couldn't
That's
come at
almost like a joke, right? Frankly. That's almost like a joke.
I mean, but what they were saying is like, if you need, because they know that people are getting to an autopilot situation in many cases. People that are still going to work, like myself. And I was talking the other day, and I was like, I was telling Jason, I said, I feel like I'm on autopilot sometimes. He said, yeah, me too. Like it's like you're just driving to work, you're getting there. The mask, literally, as soon as you walk out the door, the mask
You're
on.
maintaining the facade.
Yeah, and it's like, because he said, do you think it has something to do with us not being able to see each other's facial expressions and things like that? I said, yeah, it does. It's almost like kind of weird, like robotic type of thing, because you're driving and I'm in all kinds of traffic. So I'm driving and, you really can't see a person's face. It's like blank, especially with people that are driving with other people, they have to wear a mask sometimes.
Yeah, but you can see it if you look in people's eyes.
Yeah, you can look in their eyes, but
you can definitely see.
It's a huge thing that they're trying to push, because they know that mental health, especially with employees, affects productivity. And I think they're sick and tired of people taking these quote unquote mental health days, at a lot of these jobs, and they want people to learn to compartmentalize better and be at home and have the learned stress. People are having to learn how to relieve their stress right now, and they have not thought about that too much previously. It was more on the fringe, but now it's like out in the open. They're encouraging you, and I'm like, why are y'all encouraging?
Because we've entered a survival mode.
Yeah.
Where by the consequence of people not being able to develop some mechanism of managing their mental or emotional state, it's quite acute. The consequence of it is quite acute. I mean, we could very easily be in a situation where there is a series and crescendo of calamity, of human made calamities, of people responding to the inanity of what we've been dealing with, particularly the last 7 months or so. At some point will be some percentage of our population that are just not going to be able to handle this. And is going to manifest in ways that is a danger to all of us. I mean, but even prior to this, we were having incidents of domestic terrorism, essentially. I'm actually rather shocked at this point that there hasn't been more of that sort of thing than there's been. But I can't imagine that this will hold up much longer. I foresee some sort of psychic break within a significant percentage of the population that's going to put us all in some sort of danger. And it'll probably start when they start, if they don't get this stimulus thing through and they start kicking people out of their homes.
I was about to say that because I know a lot of people will be dealing with that soon. You know, we're
They're
getting
already dealing with it. Some people are getting kicked out of their homes now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And now, I mean, I'm speaking for where I am, but I know a lot of people are, and they have already. Because you're in Indiana, AB, what's going on?
What's good?
Yeah, you know, your boy Pence, you know, and everything and all that. But in Indiana, I know for sure, like, people didn't think that would happen to them. And I was like, whoa, how you gonna be that, you know, oblivious to what's happening? You know?
Hey.
But
yeah, I agree with Black Guru. It's gonna be a hot mess, and it's not. And people think it's just Trump. No, you don't understand. It's not just Trump. You can't just put that on Trump. Our system. There's a bunch of idiots up there. I don't know what they're.
Boy Pence, though. What about your boy Pence? He's so competent. Your boy Pence, you know, he got y'all.
That ain't my boy. I've never liked Pence.
I'm just.
I have never liked Mike Pence. I didn't like him when he was a congressman. I didn't like him when he was the governor. He let an AIDS epidemic happen in Indiana when he was the governor. So I have no love for Mike Pence.
Wow. And the opioids right now.
Yeah.
Got opioids real bad right now in Indiana. And so it's all this.
Oh, you don't know the half of it.
Yeah.
We have I forget what you call them, where they get the clinics they go to, you know, to keep off the opioids. I can't think of the name of it. Methadone clinics. I was driving by and something I didn't know was a methadone clinic, and I kid you not, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. The line was out the door. I thought I was looking at an after party.
Wow.
There's the opioid epidemic is no joke. And I've talked to some of the drivers. They said they go every day to get that methadone shot. Every single day, 7 days a week to get that methadone shot. Yes, even on Sunday. And on top of this corona stuff, so
right.
The phenomenon of the opioids and methadone, if there is as clear an indicator of the inevitable fall of what we would consider to be white supremacy, there you go right there, pal. The house of cards that they built over the last few centuries is tumbling down on them now. That they don't even, of all of the vainglory that has been marketed of what it means to be, quote, white in this country, has come undone.
Pretty much.
And you're seeing it in what's going on there.
Yeah. Cornel West talked about that. He said this is a failed experiment.
It is.
He's like,
What's
this
a
is
failed experiment?
It failed.
What's a failed experiment from Cornel West?
The idea of America.
And particularly
it was a successful experiment. I mean, if you look at the people that run this country, they run it the way how they see fit. So regardless of success and failure, That's how they want it.
Well, I think
Well,
he
it was definitely successful for certain factions
right.
Yeah.
of America, certain elite, certain a specific subsets of demographics within America. It's been successful. I mean, you have your billionaires, and you have your world new world order types, and so for them,
You're right.
look, when you are and this is the thing that white America has never really, I believe, never really thought about in all of their hoopla about God bless America.
Mhm.
When you are a billionaire, and in the case of Bezos, soon to be trillionaire, living in Barcelona is just as glorious as living in New York. Living in Paris is just as glorious as living in Chicago. These people are not citizens of the United States. They are gods of the world.
Mhm.
And so when this thing eventually falls, in however way in which that manifests, they'll be fine. They'll be
So
fine.
I think
Mhm. But see, the thing is, I think from he was speaking on it, I had to think about it more when Dr. Cornell West mentioned that on CNN once. He was speaking about in terms of the protests, because that's what they were asking him about. But in my opinion, and I'm not saying this to disparage Dr. West, but a mouse always thinks this is a failed experiment because I'm getting cut up and I'm gonna die. But if I was the experiment, I'm going to be fine, like you're saying, Uru. That's how I looked at it. I was like, well, yeah, because you're not the arbiter of the experiment. You didn't design the experiment. Of course, you think it failed because you're in the box.
Yeah.
mhm.
But from the perspective,
Yeah.
with respect, Nicole, from your perspective, and you would be, I guess, the elite class, we got the results we were looking for. We understand how this thing works.
Mhm.
And so now we document the results of
Mhm.
this experiment.
Mhm.
And if we choose to achieve some other end, we'll alter the detail of the experiment accordingly.
Right.
I think the certain classes of people deemed decades ago, generations ago, that the viability of America as a business model was on the wane, and began to adjust their own decision making accordingly. And so that's why they started to sell us out to China and all the offshore business and moving money out of the country and that kind of stuff, because they determined that eventually the math doesn't work. Eventually, the math does not work for 350 Americans to compete against 1.6 billion Chinese
Right.
or 1.2 billion Indians.
Mhm.
The math does not work, especially in a world in which all intellectual properties are available to all. And so, whereas you would be required to earn $30 an hour to have a comfortable life in the United States, someone in China could do the same, earning $3 an hour.
Pretty much.
It was all, from their perspective, it's just about maximizing the extraction of resources under the current world paradigm and being able to get the hell out when the thing finally collapses.
I see it as I agree with, I see what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying, and I try to see it from Dr. West's opinion as well. Because when he was looking at it so myopically at the time, as far as the protest, and I was like, I just shook my head. I was like, yeah. As far as this, yeah, failed experiment, as far as us getting along and all that. But on a grander scale, I have to agree with you, Uru, on what you're saying. Yeah. And what were you talking about, Bernie? You were saying something about Antarctica. What's going on?
What's going on, guys? I mean, it's plenty of places around the world. I wish I had the articles that can. I'm gonna actually do that later on. Just post some articles in the chat. There's plenty of places where I don't know what you would call their job description. More like not construction workers, but the people that plan the not architects either. The people that plan how the buildings and everything are going to be made for people.
Like a civil engineer.
You mean design engineers or?
Yeah.
The design engineers. There's a lot of in-demand jobs for that right now. As far as rich people, where they also see what's happening in the world, and I would say the really upper middle class to the top are really spooked about what's going to happen in the future. So they're trying to get their own house somewhere where they always give the people these kind of scenarios like, oh, what if this happens? Will I be able to survive this?
It's not going to work, Bernie. You know why?
It might not. You're right. It might not work.
You know why it's not going to work? Because the people who have been betrayed, there will be a percentage of them with the motivation and the industry and the resources to make them pay.
I believe it.
You cannot run. They cannot run from what they've done.
Most definitely, they can't.
Yeah.
I just want to put out there that they're attempting to.
No, I know they will attempt to run. I know they will attempt to run, but they cannot. They cannot. Their best hope is to fix this thing, however or whatever that may entail. But there is no fortress. There is no solitude, invisible shield,
bunker.
Right. There will be some people who are left that will be metaphysically motivated to make them pay for what they've done.
Most definitely. Oh yeah.
And here's the thing: when people and BGS very eloquently touched on it in the things that he have explained. When people become especially motivated to discover how we got to where we are, and the actual willful decision making that resulted in this, and when Americans figure out that all of their leadership class, every one of them,
need their ass whipped,
contributed to this. There will be no sanitized resolution.
You know what's the funny thing about that is that that's actually have you ever heard of what do you call it, the QAnon movement?
No.
So it's pretty much this conspiracy theory out there where Trump is the hero that will save everybody, and they're exposing all these criminals worldwide as far as pedophiles and people that are doing like corruption in the government. They talk a lot of stuff about Obama, Hillary, people on the right, people on the left, China, Russia. It's pretty much all these world-class criminals.
You've been watching Pharaoh.
Sorry?
You've been watching Pharaoh.
I got it from what was the channel called? It's not in my mind right now. But whatever it is, whatever. A lot of people that are in America, as far as actually a lot of people that are joining the right, they subscribe to that kind of thing that Trump is going to be this hero that's going to get all these criminals and save the world and whatnot. So that what I'm trying to, which is stupid, but it's like they're exposing everybody but the people
what I'm excited to see is when the majority of white people in this country realizes that racism has always been a diversionary tactic.
Of course.
That's what I'm excited to see. That all this time and energy and effort that they have expended towards a somewhat disabled minority population. Meanwhile, the people who look like them stole everything from them, took everything from them. You know, I hope I live to see that. I hope I live to see that.
Hopefully it happens.
To be their hero or something when he has so many issues himself. You know, that doesn't make any sense to me. But I don't know about that.
Nicole,
When
I
there's
would
enough
say Trump-
reverence, you just don't notice it.
I would say Trump is, and this is going to sound odd. This is going to sound crazy. But I think Trump is the most noble one of all of them. Because
That's a scary thought, but he's right.
because we actually see what he is.
Right.
Yeah.
Look,
It's true.
when you know, we don't want to think about what, you know, the Clinton and what just take what the Clintons have done
Oh, those
alone
are the real devils.
in Haiti. What the Clintons have
In
done
Haiti,
alone
yeah.
in Haiti has
Yeah.
been demonic. What they've done. You know, so I mean, as evil as we want to think Trump is to be, and I'm not arguing that he's not, at least we know what the hell he is.
Yeah.
It's been these so-called good white folks. Biden drafted the crime bill.
Oh, he did much more than that. But keep going.
If you have a student loan,
Yep.
black
Say
woman,
that again.
black woman, if you have a student loan that you can't get rid of,
Biden's responsible for that too.
thank Biden for that.
Yeah.
Biden is a senator in Delaware. Delaware is the banking and corporate capital of the country.
Yeah.
So
Try
if
to tell
you
people
think
that it
that
goes on their fears.
if you think Biden, and again, I can cite chapter and verse the evils of Donald Trump. I'm not at all disabused of the notion of just how crazy and evil and demonic Donald Trump may be. And he's a scion from someone who obviously was like an actual active member of white supremacist
Yeah, that's why I was part of KKK.
programming. So make no mistake, and the fact that even like his own family, his birth family, and those have like totally disassociated, pretty much tell you who and what he is. But I mean, these other people, I mean, they really are the pod people. The Clintons, the Pelosi's, the Obamas, folks. I mean, they really are. We've all just been sold out. We've all just been lied to, hoodwinked, bamboozled, all that good stuff.
Yeah, you see Michelle trying to shame people to vote for Joe Biden now. Came out with that long video trying to shame people. Like, you're right,
These folks have spent 5 or 6 years now telling us about this Me Too stuff and all this stuff. What politician in this country has been a more living, breathing symbol of misogyny and whatever than Joe Biden?
No, Trump ain't done it in public as much as Joe Biden. I take that back.
But no, but Trump, but except for 4 years ago, Trump was not a politician.
That's
he was
true.
not someone who had fiduciary responsibility for American citizens. When he was grabbing women by the whatever, he was not a senator or a president.
Well, actually, in fairness
the other
to him,
guy was an actual senator.
Yep. Don't forget about Hunter Biden either. He passed all those drug laws, and Hunter Biden, they got caught with drugs multiple
If you got
times.
a student loan that you can't get rid of, thank Joe Biden for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And you
either
got
way,
all these black women running around Biden, Harris, and they are enslaved
if
by
they're dead.
student loans because of Joe Biden.
Mm.
Yeah, but the Kamal's their sister girl.
Oh,
They gotta
Lord.
support the sister. You know I'm not lying, Nicole. That's the sister girl. Look at that sister up there going up against Mike Pence.
Mm-mm-mm.
And this is how terrible it is. They got me defending Mike Pence, and I'm from Indiana, so you know how
Right.
you know it's bad. You have to understand. The Republicans here didn't like Mike Pence either.
See, at least Pence, Pence is basically evil.
Yeah.
And you can kind of predict what's going to come of that evil.
Mhm.
There isn't really much deception there.
Right.
Right? There's just not. I mean, I'm in Illinois, so I know what you mean. You know what you're dealing with. It's these other people, these people that you have to wear special glasses to see,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that
They lose glasses.
because they live, you know.
Yeah, talk about my black president, talking about Bill Clinton.
It's those people. And these people are frolicking around with children on islands someplace,
Mm-hmm.
and yet we're supposed to be concerned about, what Trump did or didn't do. So I don't know. I'm ranting. I'm sorry.
No, the mental
Gymnastics is
illness is real, man. The mental illness is I'm gonna tie it right back into the theme because this was the supporter's choice. Shout out to everybody who's supporting me. I appreciate the votes. It is yeah. I'm gonna talk. Let me call the cash apps real quick. I got Topaz with the cash app. Thank you so much, sister, for sending me that. And Two Trip always is donating. Thank you for that cash app. Always donating. Thank you so much.
When the history books are written, it ain't gonna be pretty for either side.
Yeah,
when it comes out, it ain't gonna be pretty.
And here's the worst part about it, AB. Do you ever read history? Like read about, let's say, what happened in Germany? Just to use that as an example.
Yeah.
Do you ever ask yourself, what the hell were those people thinking back then?
Yep.
Actually, I do know what they're thinking. They were. You have to remember they owed the people they were persecuting a lot of money.
I'm saying 50 years from now, people will be asking those same questions about us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we won't be able to provide an admirable
You are absolutely right. Yeah. I've had that conversation too with my dad actually. He was like, what do you think they're gonna say in 20 years when people look back, and they see what's going on? I was like, oh man.
I cannot believe y'all allowed. I can't believe y'all allowed that to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, well, that's the thing, though. Although it's definitely the leader's fault, but I think part of this is it's also everybody's fault. I really feel like depending on our actions and our choices, we get the government that we deserve.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what a lot of people are saying.
That's a painful pill to swallow, but it is what it is.
Well, I'll add this complexity because, like, black people are a relatively small percentage of the population, and black men in particular are even a smaller percentage than that. So I won't necessarily blame us for what happened, but I will ask, what were we on the record for having to try to stop it? If you're on the record for having to make an earnest effort to trying to stop it, then that's the best you can do. You're a valiant hero that unfortunately were not able to succeed.
Mhm.
The
I'm a
problem
record.
is
I'll talk about how Kamala was.
not going to be on record for having done a damn thing to stop what happened.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm a record for trying to call out how Kamala was for the school to prison pipeline.
Yeah, a lot of people
Yeah,
are.
schools last jails.
Mhm. Yeah, you're right about that. Because you have some people who won't even, they're either too afraid or don't have the mental capacity to even think about
Mhm.
how they can formulate a sentence to put together something like what you're saying, AB, and what you're saying, Uru, as well. Like, I'm like, you didn't even try. Like, you're not even.
No, they're not even trying.
Wow, you're right.
Yeah, and sometimes failure or what comes from failure
Mm.
is greater than success.
It's a better lesson.
They tied the Reagan Revolution to the loss of Barry Goldwater a decade or so prior. I guess was 16 years or whatever prior, because Goldwater inspired a particular kind
A
of
conservative
movement that led to Reagan becoming president. So sometimes a great failure will tower over a mediocre success. And sometimes if you lose, and the problem I had with President Obama was that I think there were some issues, particularly for Black men, that even if he had lost on those things, and he very likely would have, it might have created a very different tone for us as a collective of men overall. But because he was playing the astute politician.
He had Brothers Keeper, but the women took it over.
Yeah, and he did. But here's the thing, AB, he didn't push back against that.
True.
He could have pushed back. He could have made a very public statement that, damn it, these Black men need our help. They need our support. And even though you're petitioning and all that shit, the history of this country is that Black men, as much, if not more than anybody else, have made sacrifices to make this country what it is, and they have earned the support that I am on a very small level attempting to give them. But what did he do? He pussied out. When he got a little heat, he backed up off it, and you never heard him say anything else about it.
Yep, pretty much.
Wow.
And that has an effect. That has an effect on our perception of him. That has an effect on how Black men respond. Because in the end, even the president, even the Black male president, won't stand with us.
Well, is it true that his foreign relationships were pretty poor compared to other presidents? Like he didn't have enough backbone with negotiating with other countries. I heard about that, but I'm not sure if that was true.
Well, he drew a line in the sand with Syria, and they pissed all over that line, if you recall correctly. I mean, whether he did or did not kill bin Laden, but he had some very, the Russian president, Putin kind of built himself to Obama. So it was pretty clear that there was a perception amongst the certain leadership class at the global level that he would blink, and he did several times. Now you can argue that maybe he made the prudent decision, but sometimes losing and holding frame, can be more important than a small insignificant win where you have shown your anus. And he did that several times. He's shown his rear. He showed his rear several times. Now I don't know why, and maybe history will prove him to be correct. But the way it looks as a president and as a black president, not that good. You were elected and reelected. That should mean something. And sometimes, again, you have to be able to bang your fist on the table and say, "Damn it, that guy was president for 8 years. That guy was president for 8 years. We never fucking saw him angry about anything."
Yeah, that was an issue.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wait, I'm sorry. I take that back. That was Dwayne Rock Johnson.
Who was there angry? Wait, who's that Black Root angry for 8 years?
There was never any.
I was like,
There was never any moment where you actually got some sense that he was actually taking the reins of leadership. Never. This guy had a governor of Arizona basically curse him out in public. That bitch should have ended up dead somewhere.
oh, the one that put her hand in.
Yeah.
What was her name? Jan Brown?
I was like,
This guy had a guy tell him he was a liar in the halls of Congress. Just how much of a bitch you gonna let yourself be as president? How much? He was president for 8 years. They reelected him. They wanted him to be president.
Mm-hmm.
And you still a bitch.
That's not even the scary part. The scary part is people praise Obama like almost like he Jesus or something. Like, where's all this coming from? He ain't Jesus. He's another politician. He's always been another politician to me.
You know why? Because he feels he's gonna be that pinnacle like Martin Luther King to get them out of oppression completely, to rescue them completely of this white man's hold onto them in America.
And this is all this. Well, I don't want to get into. I don't want to get into gynocentric stuff about all that.
Some bullshit, but
shit.
Well,
I felt that way a lot of times. I was like, "What are you doing? Like, what is this?"
Yes, be this when he say bullshit.
But then
we've never expected the president to be somebody's bitch. Sometimes you gotta. And I'm trying to think what this guy was president for 8 years, right? What actual risk did he take?
He didn't take no risk at all. He was very passive during his whole time during the office.
The healthcare wasn't a risk because they had the House and the Senate.
Not even the healthcare.
The first couple of years he was in there, they had the House and the Senate. Reagan used the bully pulpit. When Reagan was elected, the Democrats ran Congress. And he fucking bullied them into doing what he wanted them to do. He appealed to people. Now, I know he's a white guy and he was the Gipper and all that bullshit. And maybe Obama would not have been able to do what Reagan was able to do. But I'll go back to what I said earlier.
I got a bet. Well, here's another thing.
You have to be willing to possibly lose and be
How do
on
you-
record for losing.
How do you let a turtle like Mitch McConnell punk you? I'm gonna make sure President Obama is a one-term president.
And he was reelected. He was reelected.
Oh, he's gonna get reelected again because the Democrats keep putting wimps up against him.
Obama got more votes than any other president in history. And he never actually used that as any sort of tool. He never actually said, I had more American people to support what I was trying to do than any of my predecessors. He never did that.
Mm.
How long do you think he would have lived?
There you go.
Well,
True.
he just
Right.
How long do you think he would have lived?
Had the courage to possibly.
that's a good point.
He would have had to have the courage to possibly.
You know how bad it was. This is coming from the Secret. So when he first, before he was even inaugurated, they had to change the rules for security in Washington D.C. just because he was president. That's how many people wanted to kill
Let
his
me
ass.
ask you a question, BGS.
Mhm.
Let me ask you a black pill question.
Yes, sir.
Why do you, as a black man, run for president unless you have accepted the possibility of being assassinated? Why do you do that?
Yeah, but does that mean you actually going to go out and try and put your head in the crossfires just because?
I'm just saying, though. I mean, what's the point? What's the point for the rest of us?
Because you can't, because you
and that works for Malia and all of them.
Because you can. How many people actually did it?
And that's fine. But I'm saying for black people, okay, what does that mean for us? For black
people, well, I could tell you for black people because my mother's 82 years old, right? And a lot of her friends were a lot of her black friends were in that range. And my mother was a goddamn sharecropper in Louisiana, man. When she was like, she started picking cotton when she was 4. Okay.
Wow.
And those kind of people that assaulted the goddamn earth, man, never thought they would ever see a fucking black president in their lifetime sit on that throne, man. And just that symbol alone, no matter whatever else he does, okay. And I was trust and believe I was never a fan of Obama. No matter whatever else he does, he did that. You can't take that away from him.
And I can
you name me one other person had the temerity to actually do that. Trust you're gonna have to give some because you're not gonna get that office.
Right.
Unless you do kind of play the game, okay?
And I've been to his rallies before he was president. I can confirm.
I don't know.
You can see him on the road.
Okay, I can tell you one thing where he stood up to his to Robert Gates. You know, he probably shouldn't have done it with Libya. Okay, he threw the finger at Robert Gates. He's throwing the finger. Ask what's his name in Israel. They came on, thought he could actually punk Obama. That's what happened to him.
But Gaddafi was assassinated. He was killed.
Of course, he was killed,
and he was killed under Obama's watch.
And sure, he was. He's a president. You guys don't get it. This is called continuity of government. You know, you thought that you were going to get Malcolm X in office, really?
No, I'm not saying that I expected to get Malcolm X in office. I'm not delusional to think a Malcolm X could ever become president. But if you're telling me that someone who is a non-Malcolm X or of that continuum could become president, then my question is, other than as you described, the fact that our mothers, and by the way, my mother was a sharecropper as well.
So you know what I'm talking about.
They can luxuriate in seeing a quote black president.
Yeah.
Perhaps in hindsight, we might be better served being disabused of the delusion of what that means.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I never believed that. I was on the continent. I was on the continent just before he was elected, man. You know do you know what he did as a symbol for them? It's a symbol for that.
I think only time will
But
tell.
maybe the
I
symbol,
was there. The time is look.
Well, I'm just saying.
Okay, look,
I
look,
can appreciate.
look what's going on the continent right now.
Yeah, the continent's on the rise.
It's on the rise.
Okay, you're referring to.
I'm not trying to get the blood pressure
Go
up.
ahead. Go ahead, Nicole. No, I'm not. My pressure's not up. But saying, that's what I know. But I'm saying is, I followed this dude 2 years before he was even president, and nobody, I could tell you, nobody thought he would be president. Half you guys didn't want him to be president just for that fact. And he ran anyway. He ran in opposition to Hillary Clinton. Okay, he's supposed to be her vice president.
No, I mean it's very impressive what he achieved, and he was very what happened in Illinois was that Jesse Jr.
Mm-hmm.
was a punk, and we discovered what happened with him.
Okay.
Because technically he was supposed to run, but he was too afraid, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was, and I forget his first name, but he was married to the actress, was it 7 or 9?
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah.
And it came out they were involved in sex clubs and whatever, and it was revealed, you know. And Obama kind of by default became senator in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
So very sort of fortuitous what happened with him.
Yeah, and you need some luck.
Right. And he came on and he gave the speech at the 2004 convention.
Yeah,
the Kerry convention.
Yeah, give the dude credit. His wife didn't believe in him. Okay.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
His wife didn't believe in him.
Right.
You know how tough it is for a black looking dude coming out of Chicago to get to be president when most people don't even believe that you can be.
Well, technically, he didn't come out of Chicago, and that's why he was able to become president. Because if he were an actual Chicagoan, there's no way he would have.
He was there for 20 years. He was trained in Chicago. Okay, he came out of Chicago.
No, I'm saying if he had actually come through the muck and mire of Chicago, there's no way he would have been cleared to become president. No way.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he did. There's a lot of things, like I said, there's a lot of things that people talk about Obama, and like I said, I'm not a fan of Obama, right? I'm not necessarily, he's a president to me. He's just like any other president, okay? Mm-hmm. The disappointment I have with Obama administration, you had 8 years of Obama, and guess what black people did with him? What'd you ask for?
I recall several people attempting to ask for things.
Like what?
And I recall the administration overtly asserting that he was not the president for black people. He was the president for all people. I remember, for example, Dr. West was very aggressively attempting to confront the administration regarding matters concerning black people. And he was wholly shunned and castigated.
What
Obama
did we ask for?
Right. Well, look, I agree with you that we did not.
Nothing.
What
not collectively ask for things. But I also don't think that he was necessarily open to any sort of thing that we would have asked for.
What did we
actually had
ask for?
Well-placed surrogates. He had Al Sharpton.
If we had the same push we had for reparations that we had just in 2018, right? Then I could say something. Okay, did we have that?
Okay, nope. But here is
prisoner. Do we ask for prison reform?
What you're saying, BGS?
Okay,
black president.
So what?
Well, let me finish though. Now, you know, and I know that going into the dealings with the first and only black president, black people were going to approach him from a very different perspective,
Okay.
in a very different mentality than they would approach any of his predecessors. Now, I would agree with you that that was a tactical error on our part.
Okay.
But I would also say that he and his cohorts and his supporters relied on the fact that they knew, because he was a black man and because he was the only black president and because he had Michelle and Malia, that they would not deal with him in the way they would deal with one of his white.
Well, it's more our failing because we had a black president for 8 years and we didn't do anything with him.
I agree. I agree. And he capitalized on that. He capitalized on it.
In other words,
hold
on for a second. Okay. So basically you have a black president in a white dominated sphere, right? And you don't ask for anything, and you don't back him on anything. Okay. You never backed him on nothing. We should have raised holy hell when that motherfucker jumped up and called his ass a liar. Because trust and believe them white boys, if there had been the Trump do that, had that happened to him, them white boys would have been marching with AK-47s and M16s the next goddamn day. What do we do?
Not a thing.
Oh, you're a punk because you let that happen. What do we do?
That's a fair point, but my retort to that would be,
it's always a black. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, it is, because how did he respond? Hey, look, if you're gonna, I'll be the soldier if you be the general. I never saw Obama respond to any of these things in such a way that would warrant my necessarily getting on a horse and riding behind him.
You're old enough to remember Gil Scott Heron, right?
Yeah.
In 1970, I think it was 1972, 73. Ain't no such thing as Superman. What did he say? We ain't gonna be nothing. What we need to be, want to be, will be, until we understand ain't no such thing as Superman, right? We got to play the game just like everybody else, and we don't. Okay, we finally starting to figure out that we got to play the game, and this is probably the first time, finally the first time, and probably because of what's going on YouTube with this Black Manosphere, we finally figured out we got to start playing the game.
I agree with that. I have no.
And
I agree that we have been.
I knew from the day he got elected that can I cuss, Nicole?
Yeah, y'all can do it, y'all want to do.
Right. I knew the day he got elected and inaugurated. I said niggas ain't gonna do shit for his whole term. They ain't gonna ask for shit, and they ain't gonna do shit, and then they're gonna complain like hell after he gets out of office.
They tried to ask for some things.
Like what?
The administration, there were requests regarding what you're gonna do for the cities, for the inner city, that type of stuff. There were overtures towards attempting to get him to help Chicago and other inner cities and that type of stuff. Hell, the man was from Chicago. He didn't do a damn thing for Chicago.
And
that pretty much tells you all about where he really was, what he was really about.
And you
had a damn library in Chicago, a whole goddamn complex of a library in Chicago. He didn't do anything for Chicago. There is no actual evidence at all.
What did you ask for? What
in Chicago?
You asked for? What'd you ask for? Y'all wasn't gonna ask for nothing. You didn't. I said, when are y'all gonna ask for something? I used to say, because we had a weekly radio program every week. I said, when are y'all gonna ask for something? When y'all gonna push for something? There was proposals, but there was never any momentum behind it.
Yeah, because when there were some attempts to present them, there were surrogates of the Obama administration that would go on MSNBC and CNN, etc., and very strategically or very tactically undermine those attempts. That actually happened, BGS.
You know what? This is very funny. This is extremely funny.
That's part of the game.
Because because the
You
farmers.
had you
Hold
you had
on. Hold on for a second, right? You had the farmers, the black farmers, right? In I think it was 2012 or 2013.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
they wanted to reopen and extend the USDA lawsuit that they had open. Right? Guess who did that? Obama did that. Obama did a lot of stuff, man. When people actually asked for it, he could actually do it. A lot of things that was in his purview, he actually did. When people actually asked for. The thing is, they don't.
He did do some things for the farmers. I agree.
He did it. He did for the farmers. There was a lot of lawsuits that went through that wouldn't have gone through without him. In fact, we talk about Trump actually shipping out immigrants, right? Obama shipped when things crashed.
Yeah,
He shipped out more immigrants than any other president besides Eisenhower.
He sent more illegals back to Mexico than any of his predecessors. That's true. That's true.
I mean, I do know that Obama had like shovel-ready
projects.
things like that.
Actually exempted. It actually shoehorned for black people. A lot of black people went to work under Obama.
Yeah, he implemented a lot of things that were already
a lot of black people's homes got saved during Obama.
Implemented, yeah, that's true. I think that y'all just crashed my little, my Zen day over here I was having, and
BS wrote in here.
I'm trying to keep it out of Kaduna and politics, but it is what it is. It's cool.
Oh, I mean, it's politics. What I'm saying is, and you guys are in Chicago, man. That was your boy. You guys should have been the first one, man, to march down there and get something. And then you had his boy Rahm Emanuel as mayor.
Yeah, y'all got to own that.
Like
I knew Rahm Emanuel was like
you would have had to have been here to see what they were pulling, and it wasn't nothing about them actually ever trying to do anything of any consequence, particularly for Chicago. There was always this effort and always this presentation about him being the American president, not the Black American president. And now I will agree that because he was black man, and some of us kind of incorrectly assumed that he would do certain things. That was an error on the part of black people collectively, and especially black Chicagoans and black Illinoisans. I'll agree with that. But Barry did some things. He did some, I don't know. I mean, some things, he appeared to be more open to than others.
Black Root, I do hear you, but here's the thing. So what if he wasn't the president for black people? What does that have to do with us asking him for something? People ask Trump for stuff, and it happened.
I mean, you got that.
I mean, some of the things that Trump doing.
We got to stop. We got to stop worrying about whether somebody is our friend. We got to handle business and play the game.
Some things that Trump is.
I think Obama made a point. I think Obama went out of his way to present himself in such a way that he was not at all deferential to the interests of black people. I think he definitely, willfully, intentionally, overtly did that. And he did not do that with the alphabet community. He did not do that with the Latinos. He did not do that with other factions that he found it to be more politically expedient for him to do so for. I think he definitely made a point of representing himself in a way with black people to comfort him with non-black people. That was very clear to me.
So we stood by. So we have, because trust and believe, man. Even though you guys voted for him because he was black, half you guys didn't believe he was going to be president in the first place. Okay, that's number one. And number two, after he became president,
I campaigned for him. I donated money to him.
You campaigned for him. So
I made phone calls for him.
And then I said you're the other half, right? I know that. And I'm sure Uhuru, even in Chicago, and when he was running, you had a lot of brothers tell you he ain't gonna make it, right?
Some, but I will also say this, and it's hard to explain in a way if you weren't in Chicago. And I hope I don't embarrass myself by saying this.
Mm-hmm.
There was a magical quality to Obama. You could see it and feel it in his presence. I mean, so I can't. I mean, yeah, there was at a certain degree. You actually believe he was going to do the impossible. You know, and again, I think that I'm not. Hey, you know,
damn, Black.
Look, I remember.
I'm surprised, bro.
This guy visited.
He was, but he was. He's very charismatic.
The elementary school of one of my daughters, and the behavior of the people at that school, particularly the women of that school, it was very clear to me that this guy could be president after that. It was very clear to me. And this was a majority Caucasian school.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not necessarily surprised when he became president. He had this kind of magical quality about it. I mean, like I said, I'm embarrassed to say it as a full-grown Black man, but I saw it.
So so you get a Black president out of the blue. Yeah, he's there for 8 years, then he goes through whole 8 years, and everybody's just mesmerized and say, you know what?
Yeah.
And then as soon as 3 months after you're out of the office, he wasn't shit.
Yeah, because
he wasn't shit.
The disillusionment sets in.
After he's out of office.
Yeah.
All right, Beasley. You sound like Beasley right now. You said you drank. I drank the Obama Kool-Aid.
Now explain that to me, that you could be mesmerized by a Black man, a Black president for 8 years. And then then after you get out of office, all of a sudden the dream is gone, huh?
I do not think that what I'm expressing is at all a unique experience.
Which is what frustrates me with Black people, because you know what? Before you even got elected, I knew exactly what y'all was going to do before you even did it. So basically, Uhuru,
right? Okay.
So in other words, Uhuru, you know, that's what disappoints me about Black people, man. This really does. This really, you know, because I knew exactly what they were going to do and exactly what they're going to say after you got out of office. And everything that you just said, I predicted before you even got elected. I know what they're going to do.
Well, see, we make a lot of assumptions about people, you know, about the personality, but not the office. And you know, we thinking that his personality, that's what that is. But when he's in the office, that's his job. That's what he's been elected to do. And I think a lot of times with Black people, when I hear my family, every time we have holidays and they're arguing about this, it's funny. It's very similar conversation that they're having. And I'm like, well, we didn't ask them, but I see what they mean. You know,
we're all waking up from a dream, Nicole.
Now you know what my frustration is, man. Because like I said, I'm gonna get y'all, man. Because I hear this contempt.
You don't have a, you know, I listen to and I have to agree with her. I listened to Yvette Carnell talk about this. Like, this was after. This is when Trump was coming in during the campaign and everything. And she's like, we don't ask for what we want from politicians. You know, a lot of times people don't do things not because they refuse to, because they don't know how. And, you know, I think that she was talking about, you know, getting a better, a more comprehensive political education. And she's like, it just so happens that people started educating themselves and the race was already started. You know, things were already, the ball was already rolling down the court. and you're trying to learn about the rules of the game, and she's like, that wasn't the right way to go about it. So, I don't know. I'm out of it because I'm like,
I might do. Yeah, I started to go live in Chicago for a couple of years just to know what you guys are on, man. Because I don't understand y'all, man. I mean, you let Rahm Emanuel, supposed to be Obama's boy, man, come in and basically gut all your black schools. So I was like, so what are you guys on?
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't understand that either.
You just sit back and allowed it to happen.
One thing you gotta understand about
Gynocracy EXE.
One thing you gotta understand about Chicago is that essentially one family controlled the city for the better part of 60 years. They actually had one name, Richard J. and Richard M. Daley.
Mm-hmm.
One was mayor for 24, 25 years. The other was mayor for 24, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
They ran the city. The mayor had complete and total control of the school system. Obviously, had complete and total control of the police departments and all the other departments, all the zoning. Chicago is the most segregated, or for much of the last 50 years, been the most segregated major city in the country. So, other than that bright and shiny moment of the late great Harold Washington, who died soon after his re-election in 1987. It's been pretty much controlled by a multi-generational faction of a certain cohort of people of a certain demographic origin. But there have been many of us who have become surrogates and affiliates of that demographic faction. And this is, like I say, been deeply rooted for 4 or 5 generations now. Chicago is even compared to other major cities, is a unique situation. And you don't just have Chicago, you have the outer surrounding county, the Cook County, which is also, or was also, in the bag of the Daleys. And of course, Emanuel was a sycophant and mentee or whatever of the Daleys. So, and was also aligned with the Clintons. Emanuel was also aligned with the Clintons, which made him a particularly potent figure in this area. Hillary Clinton herself, grew up in Chicago suburb. So to a large extent, we've been trapped, and we have not collectively mounted any sort of rebellion against what has existed for, like I say, the better part of 60 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been referenced that Chicago had the worst school system of any major municipality in the country, and that system was wholly controlled by the mayor office. So generations of Black people, certainly and especially Black boys, were ruined by, like I say, essentially one family. And many Black people signed on and contributed to and allied themselves with that cabal. So hopefully that's not too much of a downer, but I've lived my whole life through that. So, And I've even myself attempted to run for public office, in the county. So, and anything you attempt to try to do, you don't get around. They refer to it as the Chicago machine. There's no getting around the Chicago machine. You either are a part of it or you fight against it.
No, I didn't know that. You went into detail about it.
And Obama.
Perspective.
Here's the thing that I admire most about Obama. He came through the Chicago machine, and somehow they never laid a glove on him. They never tainted him with. I mean, do you know how many Chicago politicians who've done hard federal prison? Well, not just Chicago. I mean, we have a governor who was from Chicago, Blagojevich, who just was recently released by President Trump from federal penitentiary. 3 of our last of the last 6 Illinois governors have done federal time, prison time. That's Illinois, and that's definitely Chicago.
And Nicole, I'm about to drop off.
So,
okay.
Just if you want to get some sense, BGS of Chicago, as you reference to moving to Chicago and try to understand what's going on here, that's Chicago. It's not like Philadelphia. It's not like Los Angeles. It's not like New York or any other major or semi-major city. It's a kingdom all into itself.
Makes it difficult.
And we had a mayor for whom what appear to be dozens of his subordinates were convicted of assorted federal crimes. Yet he and even his own nephew apparently killed a man on the streets.
What?
And
that's Chicago.
That's Chicago, bro. That's Chicago, Nicole.
Oh my gosh.
It's a different kind of.
You know what? Black people in politics, man, I just can't do it no more, man. Because especially after those things and the reparations, and they let their momentum go, I can't do y'all no more, man.
I remember calling somebody about that, and because they mentioned something about one of my videos. They were like, I want you to, help us organize. I said, first of all, I ain't up for no bullshit. So I don't want you, I don't want a bunch of mess going on, They were like, what you talking about? I had 3 things on the list. They struck out each one. I said, okay, deuces. I'm not going, I'm just not going to deal with a bunch of mess that you got going on. Like, this is not a social club. This is not, like, y'all, what are y'all doing? Like, what are y'all doing? I just don't. And so, like, a lot of people that I talk to, they're back home. And whatnot, and I'm almost like you, BGS. Like I'm like, man. Then you got the hood conservatives and the fraud conservatives. And you got,
I don't even mention those hood conservatives.
Well, back home where I'm from, when I heard about the hood conservative, I was like, it made me really mad because it's so many people back home in South Carolina and Georgia and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, they following behind this hood conservative movement. I say, y'all are such what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're in the middle. I mean, I guess it's some credence to it, but you're in the middle of a conservative. We are a blood red state. It's a blood red state, and you talking about something. You're gonna be a conservative? Are you really? Like.
Nicole, always ask him this question. Ask a nigger this question. What are you conserving? Negro.
I don't know.
I always ask anybody that asks me that bullshit. I'm a conservative or a hood conservative. What you niggas conserving?
What is it that I don't even know what their aim is. Their aim is I don't want like what black people are doing.
The
And
aim is fuckery, BGS. That's what it is.
even if what I'm saying is okay, so say you don't like certain things, right? And it always comes back to black family values. That's what we're conserving. And so, what does that have to do with being a political conservative?
Right.
I always ask them, what are you
It's
conservative?
the family values, right to carry, or fat black women.
Oh, now mind you,
you know where family values actually came from after I think it was the Bush administration actually started announcing it. It came from the Swiss codes from 1985 out of Switzerland, right? To make instead of the government actually weighing in and actually upholding the social system, right? They put the onus on the family to do it. So basically, if you're one of your persons was homeless or something like that, the family had to pick up on that stuff. In other words, that's the kind of conservatism, the kind of hardcore authoritarian conservatism they were actually talking about. That's where it came from. It didn't come from the United States. It actually started in Europe first and started to be adopted across Europe and then into the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a conservative. I'm a hood conservative.
They don't even know what a conservative is. And when I did they stopped. They
say
kind of
they don't care what it is. They say they call themselves something they don't have no understanding. BGS, you know how it is in the space.
Yeah, well,
and they want to redefine what it is.
Well, the thing is, at least they should pick up the book if they're going to call themselves something.
Oh, wait, a book? We advocate reading here? You know, niggas don't like to read. You heard Amos was said every time a nigga pick up a book, turns page, his head starts to hurt. He said, I don't know why I get this head. I said, because you're trying to think now. Look at the words.
That's why I can't. Even on the Rogers panel, I know there's some. Now I know there's some panels that just can't be on. Okay, yeah, I just cannot be on. I can't sit there because my head's going to explode, and I can't do one-on-one anymore, right? So. Because a lot of stuff they're talking about, she said, man, I've been doing that. I said the same stuff when I first got here at YouTube is the same stuff that's still here, man. I said I can't do that anymore. Yeah, I can't do it anymore. So I said some panels I just can't be on. I just avoid. I hear it. Okay, I know what's going on. I got to just bypass it because I can't do it anymore.
And it's funny, BGS, because I just started reading now for close to 10 years, maybe less than that. And I find all this information is right here, but most of these dudes, y'all gotta just pick up this basic information. Stop Googling. Find where the source is, then start Googling and then piece it together. You up here going by, I go by what I feel. I said, we don't go by what the fuck you feel. Are you a woman? I'm sorry, no offense.
Yeah, I mean, this thing has an effect because Dr. Johnson, I think on his Facebook page, had a tweet from Roland Martin, right, saying that in the last 48 hours he had over a dozen calls from black men to him, telling that they need to take the black male vote more seriously, right? So the thing is, this sector is having an effect. And everybody, because I always hear people talking about money, right? Oh, we got to get the money together. We got to get some money together to change this, right? Mm-hmm. And I always say, okay, well, how long is it going to take you to get the money together? How long are you going to wait?
Well,
how long
and what that also here's a stone cold sobering fact.
Mm-hmm.
Black people are about some range of 12 to 14% of the American population.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm not really concerned.
We have less than 3% of American wealth.
Okay.
The time that it would take us to have any amount of wealth that could anyway compete in terms of just outright bribing politicians, we are at least 100 years from possibly reaching that status. If we think we're going to actually be able to, anytime soon, position ourselves to out-bribe our competitors at the political level, we're grossly disillusioned in that regard. You're not going to be able to out-bribe. We're not going to be able to out-bribe the banks. We're not going to be able to outbribe the pharmaceutical companies, the oil industry. We're not going to be able to do that. You're never going to have a collective of Black people to be able to compete on that level. Now, whether you can do some things on a local level in a selective fashion, I would definitely recommend that we, for example, run for office on our local school boards. They have budgets. You can influence policy with respect to education. There are things that we can do. But if you think you're some hood conservative who are going to somehow collectively be able to pay off some politician at the federal level in order to sway some sort of policy,
or even the state level,
and even the state level, you are sorely disillusioned. You just don't have the money. Even if you wanted to spend it, you don't have it.
But you know, they like to live in a fantasy world, bro. Just like some of the women, they gotta live in their delusion.
What's going on, everyone?
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah, I heard you talking about Chicago, man. I'm born and raised in Chicago, and you know, one thing I'll say is that the whole vantage point from the media in Chicago is they lump all of Chicago into one another. The parts that are like impoverished or like really, really bad, it's only like less than 10% of Chicago.
Oh yeah,
okay, they're like isolated neighborhoods.
Official neighborhoods in Chicago. Yeah. The vast majority of the problems occur somewhere in about 7 or 8 of those neighborhoods.
Yeah. So it's like literally you have.
And most of those are influenced by drug cartels, you know, and basically, they actually identify certain parts of the country, certain neighborhoods to be a vista for drug trade. They actually isolate the rest of the county. They do that in Baltimore.
There was just a local story where there was apparently some sort of gun issue that sprung forth from Indiana of guns into Chicago.
Yeah, there was a white dude that was selling. He was a gun flipper.
Exactly.
So he would buy guns from
issue
different places and then resell them.
With respect, they talk about the violence in Chicago, but that's one of the very few instances where they actually publicly discuss where the guns come from.
Yeah. If you're gonna have the cartels, you're gonna have the neighborhoods. You're gonna have to give them the means to protect their territories. If you want them to do it, the thing is, because the thing is like even though I think when Obama first started, I think it was like 2008, 2009, they were concerned about all the violence in Chicago, right? So I decided to just go into on the net as I want to do, and actually look at the Chicago papers, and I put 2 things in: drugs, right? Drugs and cartels, right? You know how much stuff I actually popped up out of there and found out exactly how many freaking Mexican cartels are set up shop in Chicago.
Man, I mean, they had the
money, kind of money and guns were flowing through Chicago.
Chicago is pretty much the center of the country.
Yeah,
it's the perfect hub for the spread of drugs throughout the country.
Exactly, just like Baltimore is on the East Coast.
I mean, El Chapo literally had a pipeline that went directly to Chicago. I mean, they sentenced him. I mean, they had 2 of his operatives right here in Chicago in a federal prison snitching on him, and then they killed his whole family. It's like 2 twins.
Man, that's why when I read that, man, and I found out what was going on and how they were connected to the Fast and the Furious, man, I just threw up my hands and walked away. I said, they don't care.
They don't. They're not trying to stop anything. They're just trying to steer it in whatever.
And the black people don't care either, because you guys read this stuff every day and you do nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. We at the very least, when we actually found a trace of what was going on in Los Angeles with the crack cocaine there, Maxine Waters at least had to have, at least she didn't hesitate, man. She walked into the Senate. And she raised holy hell. I'll give Mac. You say what you want about Auntie Maxine. She raised holy hell. She had Deutsch and the CIA come to Los Angeles and speak to the people. Okay, embarrassed the hell out of him. I was there when she did that, man. I was there when she did that. And y'all had a black president. And this shit was going on. You know what, man? Like I said, I'm throwing up my hands, man. I give up on the politics. I just give up my hands.
Well, Mexico is run by the.
As Sean Connery said, in The Untouchables, that's not the Chicago way.
Mexico is run by the cartels. Okay, the America is run by the bank cartels. Okay. So you got all of that money circulating in the banks on the system D, you know.
I know you guys, but you guys know that. You guys watch Miami Vice, reruns of Miami Vice. He said that back in the 1980s. We said the same thing in the 80s and the 90s, man. It was just a rerun. And y'all did. The thing is,
LA is an open city. Chicago is not an open city, bro.
What do you mean by open city?
Mob.
Don't get it.
In other words, mob runs
multiple generations of interconnections between organized crime and police and mayor office and federal sympathizers and etc. It's not an accident that Illinois, like I said, has sent 3 of the last 6 governors to federal penitentiary. That's not a coincidence. This is a different place.
I'm gonna have to rain on y'all parade, BGS, if you up for it.
What's that?
You know, if you up for it, you might have to get your Patron Grande.
Go ahead.
And fire up your stream yard, but
okay.
I have womanly duties.
He must have picked his head, man. Tell him we appreciate him for actually allowing sharing us with us. Yeah,
it's all right.
Tell him we appreciate him for sharing you with us, and we always appreciate him because I know how gracious he is. You know, even though he says he's not, but we know how gracious that he is. And tell him, send him my love and say we appreciate him. Okay.
I tip my hat.
All right.
All right. Okay, I'll find something.
Cash apps. Let's see. MLR, Futuria, and Seven Coast Dojo, and it's a lot of cash apps. So I might have to call these out another time. But god dang, so it's a lot. Thank you to everybody. There were some cash apps that I didn't get a chance to call out from before. King Wage, James, on here. Let's see. We got She. We got Seven Coast, J.A. Rogers, West Coast African, Vernon, Shango, Ron, MLR again, Dr. Dunbar. Let's see. These are from a while back. Okay, and that's it. Well, I guess a while back is last week.
Anything from today?
It's like a month ago. Yeah, from today. I was reading out earlier MLR.
Okay.
And Seven Coast. And it was a few others I was saying earlier. Thank you so much, y'all. It's no problem. Thank you. Everyone always like, thank you for having us. No, it's no problem. Y'all you come through, it's cool.
Nicole.
More often.
Nicole, thank you for allowing me to I appreciate that. I genuinely do.
All right, I'll fire something up for about an hour.
Thank you for the stream.
An hour. That's
an hour. Oh yeah.
Hour. 3 days later.
Hour.
I was just watching your 11-hour stream, VGS. So
Oh, the old gray mare ain't what he used to be.
Better watch out. They're gonna take you out in that long walk.
Yeah, hey. I might trot to the glue factory. Who knows?
Application.
Anyway, go do your wifely duties, babe.
Yeah, I got vegetables chopped up. I gotta cook them now, so It is what it is,
You,
but it's
you,
it's,
he,
it's the life.
let me
It's,
let me ask you a question. Is he looking down his glasses?
no, he was, but it's a good one. That's all I'm saying. You can hear my hands. It's a good life. It's a good life.
Okay.
You
All
know,
right.
y'all
All right.
have a good night. I appreciate y'all stopping through.
All
This is
right.
cool right here. Y'all be
Okay.
good.
Don't forget to donate. Donate.
Yes,
Donate often. Okay. We
yes.
gotta support our scholars, support our eggheads, as I call them. You know.
Yeah, we try our best. Shout out to Dr. Tia Swan Johnson. I saw the stream from the other day. I got to go back and rewatch it. But yeah, shout out to him. Shout out to Master Teacher BGS up here, Chaos Rain, everybody in the chat. Y'all have a good evening. I will see y'all again very soon. Peace.